Chapter 626. Michael vs. Layla. Alden 2. When Layla strummed another chord, Michael cast the lightning dash. He moved so swiftly that he left after images. Despite the darkness, Layla noticed the dark flames covering the Dark Lord. It was as though he was a living flame. The primordial flames. Edith, who saw the flames back in a ruin in Emazaroth, immediately recognized the flames. She was sure. The flame she saw in ruins radiated energy exactly the same as the flame covering the Dark Lord. Edith recalled her friend's words, "A primordial flame chooses its host, not the other way around." Does that mean the Dark Lord was in the Mazeroth? Or the flame traveled through dimensions? Edith questioned herself. Ignitia, lightning crackled around Michael's wrist. But he didn't shoot Freddy and Redire with a bolt of lightning. Instead, he distracted Layla with the lightning bolt and dashed at Freddy and Ryda. Seeing the Dark Lord moving towards Ryda and Freddy, Layla strummed the chords rapidly, creating a soul-chanting melody. Immediately, Edith's body went rigid. She couldn't move her muscles, not even blinking an eye. Several invisible energy waves shot toward Michael. Layla wasn't playing. She directly went for the kill. She was surprisingly ruthless for a woman who had a tendency to heal and help many. She was surprisingly ruthless. To be honest, Michael had never seen Layla like this. Her eyes turned bloodshot. Each time she strummed a chord, the room trembled. Suddenly, a golden light enveloped Layla, sucking every bit of lingering celestial energy in the air. Slowly, her glossy raven-black hair turned to silver. The golden light not only lit the room but also amplified the sound of her vina. This was an epic-level spell that boosted Layla's power several times. Judging by Edith's look, this wasn't the first time she had seen Layla use this spell. Coupled with the silver of the first energy coursing through Layla's veins, she began to overpower Michael. At least that was the case for a few moments. Michael was at fusion stage level 4. His cloud of darkness boosted his power by 4 levels, making him on par with fusion stage level 8. To match Layla's power level, Michael needed to hit level 6, so the cloud of darkness could boost his power to level 10. However, to break through 2 levels, he had to kill the 3 remaining fusions. Michael regretted not killing the fusions before. He went against what Spectre taught him. He chose to take his time instead of killing them as soon as possible. Now Michael paid the price for his mistake. Let's see how long she can keep that spell alive. Michael was about to attack Ryda when suddenly Layla disappeared. Michael's instincts screamed at him. He blocked his face. An earth-shattering reverberated as a tremendous force struck Michael's body. The hands Michael used to block the attack bent and broke. He gnashed his teeth as pain coursed through his body. He was sent flying, hitting the wooden wall and destroying a portion of the tavern in the process. His body hit several trees before coming to a halt. Clouds of dust and wooden splinters flew in the air. Ryda and Freddy ran to the hole to see where the Dark Lord had fallen. The golden light surrounding Layla slowly faded away as the darkness enveloped the tavern again. The clouds of dust receded, and the Dark Lord stood silently as though nothing had happened. They felt shivers running through their spine when they saw the Dark Lord chuckle devilishly. Finally, a somewhat worthy opponent. Michael hit his crooked arm with the dark cloud. Thanks to the APD and the bone-mending potion, he fixed his broken arm in midair while he was sent flying. Still, the pain made every single fiber in his body hurt. He had never expected Layla to use her vina like a cricket bat to swat him. He had never seen Layla fight so aggressively before. Layla flew outside into the woods through the new hole in the wall. This chapter upload first at Novel.bin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel.next.com to experience faster update speed. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Leave, Layla ordered Edith. Her thunderous voice made the Thusians shudder. But when Edith was about to use the tear to scroll to teleport, she felt a sting in her neck. Ah! Suddenly, Layla's halted, floating towards Michael. She heard her little sister scream in agony. All the anger and battle lust in Layla's eyes disappeared. Michael hated fighting dirty, but the history was written by the victors. The Thusians used all kinds of dirty tactics to betray him and covert the cosmic stream. Hence, Michael saw no problem fighting dirty to kill them. Layla immediately turned around to see Edith groaning and twitching on the ground. Her motherly instinct kicked in as Layla dashed at Edith. Edith, Layla's vina faded into nothingness as she crouched down to lift Edith's head. Layla conjured a powerful ball of light that lit a small area around them. The light fought the darkness controlled by Michael. He could have snuffed out the light if he had a little bit more control over the darkness element. In a split second, Michael arrived at Rida when Layla was distracted by Edith. Rida, Freddy, and the red-haired man couldn't help but shudder. This time, Michael did not waste any time. He directly punched Rida in the head as fast as he could. Since Rida was weakened by the molten plague, Michael's punch cracked open Rida's skull. Blood spurted out from Rida's head, painting Freddy's face red. They shuddered. Ding! Congratulations to the host for killing a fusion stage, level 8 cultivator. The reward is 750,000 experience points and 5,000 badass points. Congratulations to the host for leveling up. The current level is the fusion stage, level 5. Ding! As soon as Rida's lifeless body hit the ground, another earth-shattering sound resonated in the tavern. To Michael's astonishment, the sound healed Edith. This time, Layla didn't mess around as she tore the scroll in half. A bright light immediately shrouded Edith, Freddy, and the other one. Before Michael could kill Freddy, they disappeared from the tavern. That was a mistake, Layla, Michael growled. There was immense hate and spite in his voice. Layla's orb of light was snuffed out by Michael's darkness. His hate and anger fueled his power, making him stronger. Layla moved her finger to strike another chord, only to get blasted by Michael. Wind blast. The blast of wind sent Layla flying for several meters. She managed to land on her feet with her vina. You had no right to save the Thusians. Michael shouted as a powerful blast obliterated the tavern to bits and pieces. Without realizing it, Michael had unleashed a little bit of his true power. In a blink of an eye, the previously lavish tavern became a ruin. Upon seeing the area grow darker and colder, Layla closed her eyes. Out of the blue, Michael saw several figures resembling jaguars emerge from the ground. She learned some new tricks. Michael snickered inside. Michael flicked his wrist as the Doombringer appeared in his hand. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit NovelNext.com to experience faster update speed, just like you had no right to hurt the one I care about, Michael froze. Judging by her tone and expression, she wasn't talking about Edith. Instead, Michael felt like she was talking about Ghost. So you have a sweet spot for Ghost, huh? Michael snickered. He wanted a definite answer from Layla. As Michael expected deep down, Layla did not answer him. Instead, she struck several strings at the same time. The jaguars leaped at Michael. Smirking, Michael clenched the Doombringer tighter. Layla sent several energy waves to cut him in half. This time, Michael could see the crescent-shaped golden waves shooting toward him. The waves did not harm the jaguars but cut the broken tavern's walls that stood between them in halves. Suddenly, the dark flames shot out from Michael, shrouding the jaguars. Layla had never felt such intense heat from any flames before. She creased her brows. Deep inside her mind, she wondered what kind of primordial flame this was. Throughout her life, she had learned and even seen a few primordial flames. However, nothing matched the flames wielded by the Dark Lord. The flames slowed down the jaguars as Michael leaped into the air with his Doombringer raised above his head. Boom! Michael brought down Doombringer upon a jaguar's head with an earth-shattering force. The jaguar's head exploded into gray dust, and the shock wave sent the other flying into the sea of trees. The ground split opened where Michael's Doombringer landed. Wind blast! Michael looked up, raising his hand. The two crescent-shaped waves met in the air, nullifying each other. Despite everything, Layla kept striking the strings, creating powerful energy waves rapidly. On the other hand, Michael sent wind blasts powered by the dark flames. Their battle was so intense that it disturbed the atmosphere itself. The two of them destroyed everything around them for a 10-meter radius. Furthermore, Their battle disrupted the celestial energy in the air to the point the clear sky soon got crowded with storm clouds. The sound of thunder rumbling resonated in the area. Streaks of lightning flashed across the forest. Michael sensed several figures approaching them with great speed. His figure blurred as he disappeared from Layla's sight. Behind Layla, a streak of lightning hit the ground. Michael's figure emerged from the lightning with his Doombringer aimed at Layla's shoulder. Unlike her, he didn't go for the kill. If he wanted Layla dead, he could have used the Molten Plague. Michael did not want the spirit child to grow up without a parent. He had already abandoned the child regardless of his hatred towards his parents for abandoning him. Layla's battle instinct kicked in as she easily deflected the Doombringer with the back of her hand. A golden dome appeared around Layla the next second, protecting her from the Doombringer. Michael's figure blurred again and then reappeared on Layla's left. His attack was deflected by the golden dome. However, Michael did not give up. He attacked once again, enveloping the Doombringer with dark flames. Boom! The dome cracked when he brought down the Doombringer upon it. Once again, Michael raised his Doombringer above his head. But before he could hit the dome, Layla leaped away. A sliver of blood oozed out of the corner of her mouth. Despite facing the Dark Lord, she showed no signs of fear. Even Michael couldn't help admiring Layla. He was about to attack Layla again when Michael sensed more and more figures approaching them. The odds turned against him. The longer he spends battling, the more he would be in danger. Thus, Michael decided to leave the place before the Guardians, and the sea folks surrounded the area. "We will meet again soon," Michael nodded before disappearing into the sea of trees. As expected, Layla did not chase after him. Chapter 627. Price for not upgrading the system. Michael returned to the dark forest with Gaia and Nightmare. "What happened to you?" Looking at his dirt-covered torn armor of Michael, Gaia creased her brows. With the Molten Plague, Gaia knew it would be impossible for the Thusians to even harm a single hair on his head. "Do you remember Edith?" Michael asked Gaia. Azazel and Nightmare stood beside, staring at countless feeds running through the mirrors around the room. "Yeah, I do," Gaia said as she came to his side. She helped Michael remove his cape as well as the chest piece of his armor. Thanks to the APD, there weren't any cuts or bruises on his body. However, Gaia noticed the blood stains. Upon seeing the blood on his perfectly chiseled chest, she clenched her fist so tight her palm began to hurt. Her full name is Edith Alden. Gaia stopped removing Mark III grappling hook attached to his wrist. Just a mere mention of the name Alden caused dark lines to form on Gaia's forehead. "Alden?" Gaia slightly tilted her head. Seeing the exhaustion on Michael's face, Azazel waved his hand as Michael's throne materialized behind him. Michael nodded at Azazel. "She is Layla's sister." Michael sat on his throne. Hearing Michael, everyone stood there dumbfounded. "Edith accompanied the Thusians, so when you went to torture them, you got ambushed by Layla and Edith? Is that right?" Gaia asked as though she had seen everything with her own eyes. Azazel almost let his anger explode. He wanted to fly down to the tavern and rip Layla and Edith to pieces. Despite Michael's relationship with Layla, he couldn't stop his heart from having murderous thoughts about Layla. He clenched his fist. On the other hand, Nightmare remained calm. He remembered the kind and caring woman they had met. If it wasn't for Layla's impulse, he knew Ghost and Layla would have been good friends. Still, Nightmare refused to believe Layla would ever try to kill Michael. A woman of her kind heart and composure would not succumb to hatred. With given time, the possibility of Layla returning to Ghost was high. Michael nodded. He retrieved a healing potion from the system storage and emptied the potion into his mouth. "That complicates things, human." Gaia took several steps forward before sitting on the throne's arm. She caringly wrapped her hand around Michael. "I know. But nothing can stop me from wiping Thusia off the map. No Edith, no Layla, not even the Sky Hall." Nightmare noticed Michael's eyes flickering like rubies in sunlight. Due to Nightmare's acute senses, he heard a noise of otherworldly vibration in the air. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. How powerful is she now? Gaia asked. There was a hint of jealousy in her voice. Unlike Layla, Gaia wasn't fortunate to absorb the first energy. Given Gaia's heaven-defying cultivation speed and the 40% boost provided by the system, she could break through to the fusion stage once Gaia had absorbed the first energy. If you want to read more chapters, please visit freewebnovel.com to experience faster update speed. Simply put, Michael's major reason for venturing into the treacherous ocean was Gaia. He wanted his beloved, most loyal fiancée to be the strongest among his subordinates. Currently, Azazel had the crown of being the strongest. That would soon change when they departed to the treacherous ocean. Furthermore, Michael did not forget about Gaia's metamorphosis. She needed the heart and blood of a five-headed serpent in the fire realm to evolve. Without evolving, achieving her true power would be nothing but a daydream. Fusion stage level 10. I was disappointed. I thought she would have reached the half-immortal stage. Gaia's gaze stopped at Michael's face. For a few moments, she couldn't get her mind wrapped around the idea of how easy Michael was thinking to reach the half-immortal stage. Finally, after pondering for some time, Gaia broke the silence. With or without first energy, it's not easy to break through to the half-immortal stage. Why do you think there are only a handful of fusion stage cultivators in the world? Did you know when the last person joined the Council of Immortals? 300 years ago, really? Michael glared at Gaia. Michael had been trying to gather information about the Council of Immortals. But even Lord Information seemed to possess little to nothing about them. Part of the reason was the Council of Immortals lived in a pocket dimension separated from this world. Only when someone broke through to the half-immortal stage did a representative of the Council come outside to recruit them. Michael dared not to take reaching the half-immortal stage recklessly. Even the system informed him he would get a fixed amount of experience points from killing cultivators regardless of their levels. Additionally, the system had stopped awarding Michael with experience points every time one of his subordinates killed one. Hence, the reason why Michael didn't receive any experience points when Gaia killed a few of the Rotguards. The system had been using the experience points to change Michael's body and soul from the molecular level. But that wasn't the only reason why the system didn't award him with experience points. It held the experience points and badass points hostage to punish Michael for not prioritizing the system upgrade. It had been 7 months since Michael had upgraded the system. She must have come to the auction searching for something. Something that could help her break through to the half-immortal stage. Her words made Michael wonder whether Layla knew about the cosmic stream or not. If Edith knew about it, the odds of Layla knowing were high. However, if she did, Layla could use the cosmic stream to break through. Knowing Maxim Barnes and the lengths he would go to protect the cosmic stream, Michael doubted Edith knew anything about it. Heed her words, host. You cannot reach the half-immortal stage without upgrading the system to level 7. Michael's body froze when he heard the system. His mind repeated the system's words. Level 7? Michael questioned the system. The host didn't think you could just reach the half-immortal stage with a level 6 system, did you? The system almost sounded amused by Michael's bewilderment. Unable to endure the system's haughtiness anymore, Michael growled. However, he knew no matter how much he bickered with the system, there was no way for him to reach the half-immortal stage without the system. How many badass points? Michael sighed. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. You need 600,000 badass points for the next upgrade. Then, the level 7 upgrade requires 1 million badass points. Obviously, it would hinder Michael's growth. But at least he had already reached the top of the food chain. Thanks to the Immortal Council, anyone above the fusion stage did not meddle with mortal affairs. Although the rogues who chose not to join the council remained outside the immortal dimension, they did their best not to raise the council's attention towards them. These rogues either remained in the Cold Mountain or in the other realms, such as the Akilun realm. They only made public appearances wherever their descendants or families faced a calamity. Tell me, what did you do? Did she do this to you? Gaia pointed at the blood stains on his body. With a long heave of sigh, Michael began to narrate everything that happened in the tavern. A few minutes later, Gaia's eyes sparkled. She was delighted to hear Michael fought Layla instead of sparing her or, worse, revealing his identity. Is there any chance she fought you because the Dark Lord attacked Ghost? Nightmare asked. I think so, nodded Michael. Don't forget she tried to kill you and blamed you for her mistake. Gaia rolled her eyes. Azazel agreed with Gaia. Whatever the reason might be, Azazel hated Layla for trying to kill his master. Whatever her reason might be, I want spare Thusia. If Edith stayed in my way, which I know she will, I wouldn't hesitate to kill her. Thusia will be destroyed along with Maxim and his entire family. Michael's words were murderous. They could feel the temperature had fallen a couple of degrees. What are we going to do about those who escaped? Asked Gaia. Her question put Michael in a momentary trance. He pondered what must be done about them. Now that he had attacked them once, it was risky to let them live. But, at the same time, stepping into Thusia was extremely dangerous since Maxim had bolstered the kingdom with powerful runes and arrays as defensive mechanisms. Besides, people like General Booth might recognize Michael, and disguising himself wouldn't work with the arrays and runes in Thusia. At least, that was the case until he could upgrade the system. Once he had upgraded, he could buy new spells and skills to further strengthen himself. The spider's eye attached to them got destroyed as soon as they reached Thusia. So killing them with the spiders is out of the question. Michael rubbed his chin. His instinct told Michael that visiting Thusia was a bad idea. If someone had recognized him, everything Michael had built will be threatened. Knowing Maxim Barnes, Michael wouldn't be surprised if that crazy old man waged war against Bradford. For now, Michael decided to leave Rita and Freddy alone. After all, they would spread his legend across Thusia, which might work to Michael's advantage in the long term. The fear of the Dark Lord targeting the Thusians would put fear in many nobles' hearts. Without a doubt, this fear would hinder Thusia's growth. After all, fear was a great tool that could be used in many other ways. When the right time comes, let's give Thusian soldiers a taste of this. Michael flicked his wrist as a silver vial appeared in his hand. It was the weaponized Molten Plague. Suppose Michael had infected the Thusian army with the Molten Plague, there was no doubt in Michael's mind it would tilt the tide of the war. So even if Michael couldn't directly kill the Thusians with his own hands, he was content with killing them with the plague. In Gaia's heart, she was excited to destroy Thusia with him. Putting the hatred towards Thusia to the back of his mind, Michael turned his gaze towards Gaia. Now tell me what happened to Tenulia? Michael asked. Due to the battle and his hatred for the Thusians, Michael almost forgot to ask Gaia about Tenulia. After Michael asked the question, a grin emerged on Gaia's face. Tenulia Valrin is no more. Chapter 628, Armor forged by a 6-star blacksmith. Upon hearing Gaia's words, Michael was startled. Michael remembered sending Gaia after the Valrins with the Molten Plague. He ordered Gaia to attack them only if she found a way to infect them first. Judging by her tone, he didn't think Gaia was the one who took Tenulia's life. Finally, Gaia rose from the throne arm and looked at the mirrors surrounding the room. With a wave of her hand, she turned off all the mirrors. Michael turned his throne around. You have to see this. Gaia waved her hand as the mirrors flickered. A few seconds later, all the small mirrors emerged together to form a large screen. In the mirror, Michael saw a woman moving swiftly through the forest. He tapped the throne's hand, looking at the woman chasing after Tibulia's carriage and the 4 men riding the horses. Michael saw the dark-robed figure using the forest as his cover. The figure had followed the carriage, keeping his distance until abruptly the figure increased his speed. Suddenly the figure blurred as it disappeared from sight for a few moments. Then, it appeared above the 4 men riding the horses. Within a few split seconds, the figure grabbed the 4 one by one and slit their throats. Everyone, including Gaia, who had seen this before, couldn't help but admire the figure's speed and agility. The soul refiners didn't have a chance. None uttered a word the following minutes. Instead, they stared at the woman who beat the hell out of Tenulia before cleaving her head. Nightmare and Azazel were bewildered to see Gaia fight the woman, only to lose. They had never thought the woman could defeat the Dark Queen. But what they heard next from Michael startled them. She was holding back, said Michael. Nightmare and Azazel thought Gaia was going to disagree with Michael. But on the contrary, she agreed with him. I felt the same too. Despite the fact that we were being at the same stage and level, she was significantly stronger than me. Also, the molten plague didn't affect her, and neither did the fear toxin. Michael's focus was not on the battle but on what she said before attacking Tanulia. The phrase she recited was from Earth. Twinkle, twinkle, little star was a nursery rhyme taught to little children on Earth. In fact, Michael had learned it in his orphanage. He deeply breathed in. Twinkle, twinkle, little star. How I wonder what you are. Up above the world so high, like a diamond in the sky. He did not expect someone from this world to recite the rhyme. Besides, she fought so swiftly that even a best close combat warrior such as Gaia couldn't defeat her. Furthermore, judging by how she fought, Michael could tell she was holding back. Otherwise, the woman could have defeated Gaia in a couple of seconds. Why can't you whore yourself to the vampires? Michael repeated Harriet's words. What does that tell you? Michael glared at Nightmare, Gaia, and Azazel. That she has an axe to grind with the vampires, said Nightmare. Yes, but not exactly, said Gaia. Her words have hidden meanings. She asked Tanulia, why can't you whore yourself to the vampires? Why did she ask that specific question? Nightmare repeated Harriet's words again and again in his mind. A few moments later, he opened his mouth again. Yourself, she said, yourself. Nightmare emphasized the word yourself. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed, that might mean Tanulia used someone else to do something instead of doing it herself. If you want to read more chapters, please visit FreeWeb Novel. To experience faster update speed, Michael nodded. Unlike Nightmare, Gaia, Michael, and Azazel made the connection to Sabrina instantly. Did you put a spider on her? Asked Michael. She destroyed it. As soon as Michael saw Gaia shrug, he was bewildered. The woman had exceeded Michael's expectations. He wanted to see the woman more than anything. Deep down, he felt a peculiar connection with the woman. The way she moved, the way she recited a rhyme, and everything about her reminded him of himself. Even if he had no connection to him, having a freak of nature like this woman as his subordinate might multiply his power several folds. It wasn't any day he could find a powerful subordinate who shared hatred towards the Guardians. After hearing how she spared the old man before addressing herself like she belonged to the House of Halrid, her hatred towards the Guardians became apparent to Michael. Of course, there was still a chance that she actually belonged to the House of Halrid. But only a fool would reveal their identities after killing a prominent figure such as Tanulia. The woman did not seem like a fool. We need to get our hands on every order Tanuli issued. Azazel, I want you to send Arya to House Winston. How you do that? It's up to you. I want Arya to shadow Sabrina. Since Noah had found out about the spiders, he dared not to put spiders in Winston's house again. Instead, Michael wanted Arya to infiltrate their homes. Although Michael knew it was a difficult task for Arya, he would make her the head of the assassin guild he planned to build in the future, if she were to succeed. For how long, my lord? Asked Azazel. Until Sabrina returns to Holy Trident Academy, answered Michael. Looking at the woman in the mirror, Michael couldn't help replaying the feed once again. We now have two tasks. Find out this woman's identity and the reason why Layla is in R, said Michael. Eventually, Michael dismissed Azazel and Nightmare, who returned to the tavern where Eve was staying. What's in your mind? Gaia asked, noticing the dark lines on Michael's forehead. After spending almost 2 years with Michael, it was not very difficult for Gaia to read his expressions. I don't know. It's just she seems familiar. The next day, Michael returned to his room and pretended nothing had happened last night. He accompanied Eve to the Aqua Palace. Along the way to their VIP room, Michael noticed armed guards, countless soul refiners, and even 3 fusion stage cultivators. After settling into their seats, Eve turned her gaze towards Michael. What was that? Why are there so many guards crawling this place? No idea. I never left my room last night. Michael shrugged. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Even then turned her head to look at Gaia, who shrugged even before Eve could question her. Why are you looking at me? I was with him. An awkward silence enveloped the room. Michael looked at the clouds hiding the sun. He sighed and leaned back. All of his focus was focused on the woman who killed Tanulia. He couldn't help but wonder where the man resembling a cat was when the woman slaughtered Tanulia and her men. Boom! An earth-shattering bell sound reverberated in the arena, instantly silencing the crowd. Then, just like yesterday, Rick's ton descended from the sky following the bell sound. When he landed on the ground, he raised his arm. Ladies and gentlemen, I am honored to welcome you to the second day of the Aqua Auction. Without further ado, let us begin the auction. To Michael's surprise, Rick's ton began auctioning quickly without wasting time. He expected the old man to reassure or at least speak a few words about what had happened to the Thujans or Valorans. But on the contrary, the old man began the auction in a rush. After Rick's ton's voice echoed through the arena, an iron pillar emerged from the ground. Atop, they all saw a complete set of armor painted crimson red. This armor set had a rounded helm with half a pointed face guard and 2 pointed openings for the eyes. Attached to its side were 2 horns that curved upwards. The shoulders were fairly oval, tall, and fairly small in size. They were decorated with hundreds of small metal fragments, mimicking the scales of reptiles. The upper arms were protected by squared, half-covering rear braces, which sat quite well under the shoulder plates. The lower arms were covered by vambraces with a tentacle-like metal ornament attached to each side, wrapping around each vambrace. The breastplate was made from various layers of rounded metal sheets. It covered everything from the neck down, ending at the groin. The upper legs are covered by squared, fully covering cuisses. The lower legs were protected by greaves with sharp tips at the knee point. Judging by the shiny armor, it was apparent to Michael it was never worn before. When he looked closer, he noticed several runes glowing dimly. Not only Michael, everyone noticed these peculiar runes. Without explanation, even Gaia had no idea about the rune's effects. Michael regretted not bringing Eladir to the auction. At the moment, the Dark Elf was busy creating a teleportation array in the crypt. Ladies and gentlemen, what you see is armor forged by a 6-star blacksmith and enhanced by a 6-star runemaster. An indescribable desire emerged in Michael's heart. Although the armor looked medieval and had a Viking vibe to it, he could reforge the armor to suit his liking. But Michael suppressed his despite because he knew for a fact he didn't have enough coins to afford the armor. Countless people gasped in shock after hearing Rick's ton. Michael patiently waited for Rick's ton to explain the armor's various powers. It'd be easier to show you the advantages of having this armor than me explaining, Rick's ton said. Soon, a tall man with a well-toned body descended from the sky. Other than multiple scars on his body, there was nothing distinguishable about the man. A slave. Michael slightly tilted his head. He wasn't a perfect human being, but just the thought of owning a human being sickened Michael. As the man landed beside Rick's ton, the latter began to put the armor on the man. Several seconds later, Rick's ton finished adorning the man with the armor. Now look closer, ladies and gentlemen, Rick's ton said before flicking his wrist. A mace with a spiked head appeared in the old man's hand. To everyone's shock, Rick's ton struck the man on the chest with the mace. Sparks flew as a loud thudding sound resonated in the area. Rick's ton didn't stop but struck the man yet again. As Rick's ton struck, again and again, the crimson-red armor began to glow brighter and brighter. In addition to the glow, everyone heard the armor resonate with a whistling sound. Everyone curious stared at the glowing armor, waiting for something to happen. After enduring a couple of more hits, the armor glowed so brightly that some of the people in the crowd closed their eyes. The next moment, everyone heard a loud booming sound as Rick's ton was sent flying by a shock wave created by the armor. The arena went dead silent. At that moment, one could even hear a pin dropping sound in the arena. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 629. Michael's bid. After creating a shock wave, The armor returned to its initial color, losing all its glow. Unlike the audience, nobles and cultivators such as Michael noticed several runes dimly glowing on the ground. They suppressed the explosion so Rick's tongue wouldn't get hurt by the shock wave. After landing on his feet, Rick's tongue wiped off the blood oozing down the corner of his mouth. Rick's tongue leaped into the air before landing beside the armored man. As you have all witnessed, the armor stores the force of hits it receives and fires a powerful shock wave to knock out or even kill the opponents. The best thing about the armor is, its power grows with the wearer. For example, it will create a stronger and more powerful shock wave when a fusion stage cultivator wears the armor than a soul refiner. This slave is only at the core formation stage. Still, the armor created a shock wave powerful enough to send me, a soul refiner flying, said Rixton. Countless people gasped and murmured among themselves. Many craved the armor as sparkles could be seen in their eyes. I won't waste any more of your precious time. The starting price of this armor is 20 million. Rixton amplified his voice to sound louder. He wanted every single possible bidder to hear his words loud and clear. There was no doubt in his mind that the armor would fetch the Aqua Palace at least 100 million. 25 million. Eve bid as soon as Rixton's voice died down. Michael tilted his head slightly. His entire wealth contained 25 million, yet for Eve, 25 million was a small price. 35 million. The Golden Prince's voice resonated from his VIP room. With a single bid, the Golden Prince raised the price by 10 million. 50 million. Michael heard a raspy voice resonate from the Hunt family room. 55 million. Eve calmly raised the bid. 65 million, said the raspy voice elder of the Hunt family. Michael noticed that no one bid for the armor except for Eve, the elder of the Hunt family and the Golden Prince. When Michael looked at the T-Fusion VIP room, he could only see a silhouette of two women. He did not expect Layla and Edith to stay in the Aqua Palace instead of returning to Thusia. Although the three were raising bids one after another, Rixton regretted what had happened to Valrans and the Thusians. The Aqua Palace did its best to contain the news of what transpired last night. But the news spread like wildfire throughout the kingdom. Fear struck the entire city of Alan Allery. Rixton knew as they were speaking, soldiers from Sil Alaris capital were on their way to Alan Allery. It was just a fruitless action. Everyone knew the Dark Lord was long gone. Even if the Empress appeared in Alan Allery, Rixton doubted they could find the Dark Lord or figure out how he managed to kill Tanulia Valran and Rida on the same day, unless the Dark Lord was really a god as some people claim him to be. Due to the Dark Lord's sudden appearance, several nobles had left the Aqua Palace. They all wanted to be surrounded by their own soldiers in their castles. Several minutes passed, but the bidding for the armor remained strong. Inside the Violdegard VIP room, Eve showed no signs of slowing down. 90 million. Eve's calm voice reverberated through the arena. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. The Golden Prince and the elder of the Hunt family did not use their family background to sway the auction to their side. They knew the other party would not give them any face even if they used their family name. So they just bid with coins, not with their family names. As they were bidding for the armor, Michael noticed a silhouette enter the Hunt family room. The Hunt family members immediately stood up from their seats. Although Michael couldn't see their faces, it was apparent the figure had a higher status than the elders. Don't, Gaia's words cut Eve's sentence short. The armor is of no use if you can't build your family to its previous state. Buying this armor will only put a bigger target on your back. Let the Golden Prince have it? She is right. Crossing someone like the Golden Prince at this point doesn't seem like a good idea. Nightmare raised his concern over Eve's desire to get the armor. 100 million, the Golden Prince bid. The entire arena looked startled. Even Michael felt a tinge of jealousy towards the Golden Prince. If a single man could fork out 100 million like it was nothing, Michael could only imagine how wealthy his family was. Michael was sure the Empress was at least worth several billion. I want to be like her one day, Michael vowed to himself. The people fixed their gazes at the Hunt family and Voldegard's VIP rooms, waiting for either of them to raise the bid. But, contrary to their expectation, none uttered a word. 100 million one time, two time. Rick's tongue dragged his words as though he was expecting someone else to raise the bid. 100 million three times. Sold to the Golden Prince. Rick's tongue's thunderous shout swept across the arena. Thank you, Lady Eve and the elders of the Hunt family. The Golden Prince's dominant clear voice resonated from the room and reverberated through the arena. Michael and Eve sighed. The latter desired an armor and the other wanted to forge a better armor than the one they just auctioned. Despite their wishes, they both had to control their desires. Eve had enough coins to go up to 200 million, but as Gaia said, buying the armor would only put a bigger target on her back. She felt grateful for Gaia for reminding her of the looming threat. If it wasn't for Ghost wiping out the Rot Guards, the Voldegards would have been long gone from the world. However, Eve knew it was just a temporary solution. With time, the rival families would come at her family like a pack of hyenas. There was no doubt in her mind. Sooner or later, she had to fight for her survival. After auctioning the armor, Rick's tongue dismissed the slave. The armor, on the other hand, disappeared from the pillar. Everyone waited for Rick's tongue to bring out the next item. They all looked curious to see what powerful item they would see next. Under their curious gazes, the iron pillar emerged from the ground yet again, lifting an orb of ice. The orb was the size of a cricket ball. Despite its size, as soon as the orb appeared, the temperature in the arena dropped several degrees down. All of them felt the chill as they could see their breaths. Unlike before, Rick's tongue stood several meters away from the orb of ice. To Michael's astonishment, the orb of ice created a mist around the arena. Many of the onlookers were forced to use their arch energy to keep their bodies warm. The orb of ice drew Michael's full attention. He leaned forward, waiting for Rick's tongue to explain everything about the orb of ice. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an ancient ice core, retrieved from the deepest pit in the cold mountain, also known as the Lonely Mountain. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. The Lonely Mountain was a place where cultivators headed towards to enter secluded cultivation for decades or even centuries. The harsh cold environment of the mountain would push the cultivators to their limit and make them break through to the higher levels of cultivation. Before Gaia met Michael, she planned to rule Nagaland to her heart's content before heading for the Lonely Mountain. The Lonely Mountain occupied a large area in the R continent. Due to its extremely cold weather, there were no living beings except cultivators in seclusion. Judging by the bone-chilling coldness emanating from a single core, Michael could imagine how cold the mountain would be. Doombringer, Michael immediately remembered the required materials to upgrade his weapon. He needed a 3-star blacksmith, 3-star runemaster, ostium, or the blood of a forest dragon, underworld fire core, or ancient ice core. Among the 6, Michael already possessed 3 items. He had Eladir as the runemaster, nightmare to get the blood, and had a large pouch of ostium or thanks to his treacherous ocean visit. So only the blacksmith and one of the underworld fire core or ancient ice core remained. Once he could get his hands on the ancient ice core, he would be one step closer to upgrading the Doombringer. Michael would have let go of the item if it was underworld fire core. According to the system, the fire core would give the Doombringer to conjure flames while the ice core would give the Doombringer to summon and control the bone-chilling frost. Since Michael already had the dark flames, he desired to have the first under his control rather than fire. As long as he controls all the elements somehow, he could become an unstoppable force of nature on a battlefield. Hence, Michael decided to bid for the ancient ice core. The only concern he had was the price. The ancient ice cores can be used in various arrays, and only the sky's the limit for a talented blacksmith who could handle this ice core. The starting price of the ice core is 3 million. To Michael's surprise, the starting bid was way lower than he initially expected. However, it made sense since there was no immediate use for the ice core. Anyone who buys it had to find either a runemaster or a blacksmith. Even then, there was no certainty that they could make use of the ice core. So it's a glorified ice ball? Someone from a VIP room was ridiculed as the crowd burst into laughter. Rick's tongue had no words to rebuke because it was the truth. Simply put, except for Michael, The ice core had little to no value to the rest. Even if a 6-star blacksmith or a runemaster got their hands on the ice core, they could only imbue a part of its chillness to whatever they forge or create. But they could achieve the same effects with much simpler means. The nobles knew this. After all, they all brought experts along with them. 3.5 million, the Golden Prince bid for the item, making Michael frown. 4 million, Michael bid for the ice core for the first time. But unlike the rest, he didn't immediately raise the bid by 1 million. Rather, Michael raised it by 500,000. 5 million. However, the other party had raised the bid by 1 million. Michael hated it. Still, he had no intention of backing down until the bid went beyond 25 million. 5.2 million, Michael bid. 6 million, the Hunt family joined the bid. 6.1 million, Michael bid again. This time, he decreased the bid further. His way of bidding caused several murmurs among the crowd. But Michael couldn't care less. Unlike the nobles, Michael knew the value of gold coins. When he first came to this world, he had 0 coins to his name. Every coin Michael possessed was earned through hard work. Thus, Michael hated spending it lavishly. Granted, Michael wasn't stingy, but he wasn't a lavish spender either. 7 million. The Golden Prince raised the bid to 7 million. Michael furrowed his brows. 7.1 million. Are you kidding me? Eve rolled her eyes. For a man of his status, Ghost was stingy as hell. She wanted to slap the back of his head for raising the bid by 100,000 every single time. Chapter 630. Layla Alden's wealth 8 million, one of the elders in the Hunt family VIP room said in a raspy voice. Unlike Michael, they were raising the bid by almost 1 million. 8.1 million, Eve mumbled under her breath. As she expected, Michael put in an 8.1 million bid. Luckily this time, the Golden Prince did not outbid Michael. Instead, everyone remained silent. 8.1 million. Going once, Rixton looked around everyone but did not hold any expectation to receive another bid. Going twice, going thrice. Sold to the gentleman in Voldegard's room, Rixton exclaimed. Personally, Michael disliked Rixton revealing everyone's identity. It paved the way for rogue cultivators to ambush them. At first, Michael thought the auction would be anonymous. However, he was proven wrong. Michael exhaled deeply. Why did you buy that? Eve asked. Her voice was full of curiosity. I have a feeling it might be of help to me in the future, said Michael nonchalantly. Since Michael was a convincing liar, Eve didn't doubt his words. After all, Michael couldn't say he bought the ice core to upgrade his Doombringer. Oh, Eve nodded. A young girl entered their room with a space ring a while later. The Aqua Palace showed its wealth by giving a space ring like a paper bag. After Michael transferred the 8.1 million using his pay cube, the young girl bowed, handed over the space ring, and left the room. Michael inspected the space ring, though he didn't dare to take out the ice core outside. It might be useless, but the ice core was cold enough to the point it would chill their bones. Putting the space ring inside the system storage, Michael focused back on Rixton. After buying the ancient ice core, Michael's mood was elevated. Under everyone's gazes, Rixton waved his hand. But instead of an iron pillar as before, something else emerged from the ground. Countless gasps resonated throughout the arena. Even Michael's eyes went wide as they could. It was the skeleton of a dragon. Compared to the skeleton, Rixton looked tiny. The dragon skeleton cast a large shadow on the ground. Everyone in the arena trembled just by the sheer size of the skeleton. The skeleton radiated a weak purplish smoke from its bones. When Michael looked closer, he noticed the several runes carved in the bones. Somehow he felt like they weren't man-made. Under everyone's stunned gazes, Rixton began to describe the dragon skeleton. Judging by the energy radiation around the skeleton, the dragon was at the fusion stage level 10. The skeleton reminded Michael of a fusion stage cultivator skeleton he saw in the Nether Realm. At that time, the youngsters, including Noah, had to share the skeleton. With the help of the system, Michael managed to get the femur, the largest bone in a body for Gaia. A simple human femur was enough for Gaia to advance 5 levels within a few months. What was in front of them was not a mere human skeleton but a dragon's. Furthermore, it was in complete form. Anyone who buys the skeleton could significantly increase their power in a short amount of time. One small in the dragon's body was several times bigger than a human femur. So Michael could only imagine how long a cultivator would be able to absorb the energy from the skeleton. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed, ladies and gentlemen. This is a skeleton of a royal dragon that roamed the lands 300 years ago. According to our experts, it died in the tribulation during its breakthrough to the half-immortal stage. Despite being buried under the ground for 300 years, the skeleton still possesses pure celestial and arch energy. So I don't have to tell you about having a pure energy resource such as this skeleton at your disposal. It could turn your hull into a well of energy. If you have this skeleton, you won't have to worry about bottlenecks in your life, Rixton exclaimed. There was a tinge of jealousy in Rixton's voice. The starting price of the skeleton is 300 million. Everyone who heard the extravagant amount shuddered. 320 million. Before the people could begin to murmur, the voice of the Golden Prince swept across the arena. Since Michael knew he wouldn't be able even to reach the skeleton, he decided to lean back, have some grapes and enjoy the auction. 400 million. To Michael's astonishment, Gaia raised the bid to 400 million. Elia, what the hell are you doing? Eve's eyes were filled with shock and fright. Let's have some fun, Gaia giggled. Her devilishness stupefied the elders completely. They were about to rebuke when the Golden Prince placed another bid. 450 million, 500 million, Gaia raised the bid again. She was confident the nobles would go up to a minimum of 800 million. Knowing Gaia, Nightmare remained silent as he knew there was no point arguing with her. Moreover, Nightmare felt a little pity for the dragon. After all, the dragon was one of his kind. 600 million. The Hunt family elder raised the bid by 100 million calmly as though it was a small amount. 700 million. Once again the Golden Prince raised the bid. Judging by the tone of his voice, Michael knew the prince wouldn't back down without a fight. He threw a grape into his mouth and watched the auction unraveling before him. 750 million. The Hunt family elder exclaimed in his raspy voice. The following minutes passed with the Golden Prince and the Hunt family bidding against each other. In a few minutes, the bid for the dragon went from 300 to 950. Such an extravagant amount shook everyone. When the bid reached 1 billion, the Hunt family elders stopped bidding. Everyone, including Michael, became jealous of the Golden Prince for nabbing valuable items like candies. 1 billion once, twice, 2 billion, a melodious voice resonated in the area. Her voice was like music to her. Unknowing to many, a smile formed on their faces. Except for Michael, Gaia, and Nightmare, none recognized the voice, not even the Golden Prince. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Wow, Michael's brows arched up. He knew Layla was rich, but he had never thought Layla was a freaking billionaire, not even in his dreams. Science fell over the arena. Everyone looked in the voice's direction. 2.3 billion. The Golden Prince did not back off that easily. Those close to the Empress knew she valued artifacts and relics more than gold coins. As a living immortal, she had accumulated thousands of princess artifacts throughout her lifetime and hadn't slowed down yet. Only a few who were close to the Empress knew the secret vault filled with countless artifacts. Once he brought the dragon skeleton to the Empress, the Golden Prince had no doubt she would award him with something priceless. However, his funds were not unlimited. Once the opponent goes past 4 billion, he would be forced to stop bidding. No matter one's status, the Aqua Palace had strict restrictions on the payment. In case he failed to pay the servant with the gold coins, he would not only be banned from the Aqua Palace for life but also serve 50 to 60 years in a prison built on the southern continent. 3 billion. Layla wasn't playing either. She raised the bid to 3 billion without blinking an eye. Who is she? Eve couldn't help raising her brows in shock. 3.5 billion. 4 billion. Layla reached the Golden Prince's last line. People didn't even gasp at that moment as they were all totally dumbfounded. "My lady, the entire Gondolin will be in your debt if you be kind and let go of the skeleton." The Golden Prince finally used his family background to persuade Layla to stop bidding against him. Once she agreed, the prince planned to raise the bid to 4.1 billion. At that time, the dragon skeleton would be his. At least that's what the prince thought. Contrary to his expectation, Layla did not even respond. Knowing Layla, Michael knew the prince has a better chance of negotiating with the mountain troll than her. It seemed to Michael that the dragon might be the reason for Layla's appearance. He remembered Gaia saying something about a fusion stage cultivator needing a massive amount of energy to enter the tribulation before reaching the half-immortal stage. Judging by the vast amount of energy radiated by the dragon skeleton, it was possible that Layla wants the dragon skeleton to substitute the energy requirement. But Michael wondered whether the dragon skeleton was worth the price of crossing the Golden Prince. Even though Layla was a fusion stage cultivator, she belonged to no major power while the Golden Prince had the backing of an empire behind him. So unless she had the backing of Maxim Barnes, it was not a great move to go against the Golden Prince, to be honest. Seeing no response from Layla, Rix Tun had no choice but to continue the auction. 4 billion once, 4 billion twice. Rix Tun paused for a moment, leaving a short amount of time for the Golden Prince to negotiate. But the Golden Prince decided not to negotiate anymore so he could save his face. Sold to the lovely lady in the VIP room of Thusia, the Golden Prince's silence churned a bad feeling in Michael's gut. However, it wasn't Michael's responsibility to save Layla. She made the decision to go against the Golden Prince, and in case the Golden Prince decided to retaliate, she had to face the consequences. As far as Michael was concerned, she wasn't a little girl that needed saving. After the dragon, several other artifacts, including a few legendary spell scrolls, got auctioned, but none of them interested Michael. He could buy unique legendary spells from the system store itself. There was no need to waste his gold coins. When the daylight slowly dimmed out, Rix Tun finally stopped the auction. "Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for participating in the Aqua auction. Tomorrow will be the last and final day of this year's Aqua auction. Believe me, there are plenty of surprises for you tomorrow. So please be sure to attend the auction tomorrow. Until then, have a nice and safe day. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 631. Initializing the Order of Death. Once Michael had returned to his room next to Eve's, he disappeared from the room, leaving Nightmare to guard the room and inform him if someone came looking for him. Michael didn't even rest on the bed for a moment before teleporting to the crypt with Gaia. When he arrived at the crypt, he was welcomed by a large round table surrounded by his subordinates. Contrary to what he had seen before, the crypt was clean and spotless. There were no blood stains on the walls, the floor was spotless, and the gloomy crypt was lit with a grandeur chandelier. Regardless of the bright chandelier, everyone's faces were dark and gloomy. Surrounding the table was Maxine, Corey, Tiberius, Caius, Gibson, Arya, Delar, Titus, and Optimus. Even Sadie was invited to the crypt. "My lord, my lady," Azazel pulled the two thrones for Michael and Gaia to sit. For a moment, Michael remained silent. He scanned everyone's face. All of his subordinates averted their gazes. "Maxine." Michael turned his eyes to Maxine, who sat closer to Michael. "Did you take care of the burial?" asked Michael. "Yes, my lord," Maxine stammered in fear. To their surprise, Michael did not act as they expected. He remained calm. "Tiberius," Michael looked at Tiberius, "why didn't you tell me or her before you went to that meeting?" Due to Michael's demonic voice, they failed to guess whether he was mad, disappointed, or just simply asking. Tiberius was speechless for a second. He finally managed to answer Michael. "To be honest, we thought we could handle it. Obviously, we thought wrong. So whatever punishment you have in mind, I can take it," Tiberius sighed. Michael noticed Sadie clenching her fist suddenly as though she didn't want to see him punish Tiberius. "You did nothing wrong. The fault is mine." His words shocked everyone. They all expected the Dark Lord to punish or at the very least, shout at Tiberius. Contrary to their expectation, they heard the Dark Lord blames himself. "My lord," Maxine mumbled as Michael raised his hand. "Although I recruited all of you, I neglected to create a hierarchy and a good way to communicate among yourselves. But that ends now. Today, we are beginning a new chapter in this world. Today, the order of death will be reborn." Michael slowly rose from his throne. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. From now on, you will address me as the Dark Lord and her as the Dark Queen. Michael looked at Gaia for a moment before turning his gaze back to them. If you want to read more chapters, please visit FreeWeb Novel. Com to experience faster update speed. Each of you will address the other in the room by Lord or Lady, said Michael. After Heinberg died, Michael and Gaia knew it was time they properly build up the order. Until now, ironically, there was no order in the order. Little things such as how the members addressed themselves mattered. Without strict discipline and rules, eventually, the order would fail just like before. We are the shadow empire that will rule this world. I don't have to tell you how fucked up this world is. Slavery, famine, hunger, experiments on people, innocent people getting crushed by the wealthy, weak getting weaker, strong getting stronger, and the list goes on. We will sit here all day if I list everything wrong with this world. Put simply, the 8 great clans and the Sky Hall are the sicknesses and we are the cure, said Michael before pausing for a second. He let his words sink into their heads. Like any government, we need a hierarchy and order. Dark Queen, Michael looked at Gaia as she rose from her throne. Leaving the explaining things to Gaia, Michael plunged onto his throne once again. Azazel came to his side and stood beside his throne like a good servant. Each of you is either a king or a queen. You're allowed to have ministers as many as you need. But, Gaia raised her finger, under no circumstance, a monster is to know the other king or a queen at this table. Otherwise, one minister could reveal all your identities to the 8 great clans and destroy the order in a couple of days. After all, many empires fall not to foes who fight in front of them but to the traitors behind them. This brings me to my next topic, recruitment. Gaia glanced at the people. Like any organization, Gaia prioritized talent and loyalty over anything. If the order was her kingdom, Gaia would rather have 100 loyal talented people under her command than 1,000 rich nobles. I want 3 things from all of you and the people you choose to join our order. Gaia raised 3 fingers, loyalty, talent, and the will to do whatever is necessary. You are here because you all have these 3. So when you choose someone, he or she must have the 3 qualities I mentioned. Now when you find someone you want to recruit, you don't go and tell everything about us. There is a certain process to recruit someone. Before I explain the process, we have to assign certain tasks to you. I and Dark Lord derive tasks according to your strengths. First, Tiberius. Gaia gestured at Tiberius to stand. Tiberius, you are a warrior and an excellent leader. You fought against slavery and in a short amount of time, you have built a safe haven for all the freedom fighters. Soon, the order will help you wipe out slavery from the southern continent completely. Tiberius couldn't help feeling grateful towards the Dark Lord hearing the Dark Queen. Just as the Dark Lord promised him, he helped Tiberius free hundreds of slaves from nobles and helped him build an entire kingdom for all the freedom fighters through Caius. Thanks to the Dark Lord, all the slaves now had a destination, a place where they could be free without the fear of nobles. But his word was far from over. Until he freed the last slave, he wouldn't stop fighting for them. With the help of the Dark Lord, it was not a pipe dream. So I will bestow you the title of King of War. Any and every military or war-related thing on land the Order face will go through you. You will receive the necessary tools and training soon. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. Without saying a word, Tiberius stepped back and dropped to one knee. I accept, Dark Queen. Good, Gaia nodded. Michael did not plan anything dramatic but decided to keep everything simple. After Tiberius went back to his seat, Gaia turned her gaze towards Corey. Without uttering a word, Corey rose from her chair. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, Please visit novel next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Corey, you built an army and became a pirate lord with brains. Just like Tiberius, you are also an excellent leader and captain. Hence, I name you and the Queen of the Seas. You will lead the naval army of the Order. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? I accept, Dark Queen. Just like Tiberius, Corey also bent her knees to Michael. Next, Arya rose up. Her brothers felt overwhelmed by the pressure they felt from everyone in the room. To be honest, they couldn't believe their little sister has become an assassin under the Dark Lord. Although they felt grateful for the Dark Lord, they still had some concerns about their sister's safety. I don't have to tell you again what the Dark Lord did to you. He brought your brothers back to life. He is a god to you. I am eternally grateful to the Dark Lord and to you, Dark Queen, Arya spoke with confidence. Killing people had turned the soft, delicate girl into a dominant assassin who feared no one except the Dark Lord and the Dark Queen. The Dark Lord and I decided to train you until you become the deadliest assassin in this entire world. At that time, you will lead the assassin guild the Order will build. So hereby I name you the Queen of the Shadows. You will receive orders soon. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. As everyone expected, Arya dropped to one knee, but unlike others, she drew her dagger, cutting her palm. My life is yours to command, Dark Lord, Dark Queen. Good. But let's not think about dying anytime soon. Every one of you will become immortals under the Dark Lord. Gaia startled everyone with her words. But none dared to question her. Caius. When Caius heard his name on the Dark Queen's lips, he shuddered. Even after serving them for a long time, he still feared them. He slowly rose from his chair. Deep down, the old man felt excited to get initiated into the Order. This was once-in-a-lifetime opportunity and he planned to capitalize it. From one of the senators to the man who controls 2 kingdoms, you have served us well. No one is better suited to rule the southern continent to prosperity than you. So I name you the King of the Southern Continent. Despite the humongous task before you, we believe you won't disappoint us. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Caius dropped to his knee, placed his hand on his chest, and bowed. I won't fail you, Dark Lord, Dark Queen. Gaia and Michael nodded. After Caius, Delar saw the Dark Queen looking straight at him. He served the Dark Lord longer than everyone in the room. Everything from the moment he saw the Dark Lord kills a human in the Nether Realm to this moment felt like a dream to him. Serving the Dark Lord was the best decision he had made in his entire life. Suppose had rejected the Dark Lord's offer, he would have either died or just been an orc who could summon a few netherils. But now, he could not only summon the undead but command the alpha undead themselves. When he rose up, he saw the other humans look at him in awe. His tall stature, green thick skin, and muscular build drew their attention like a magnet. You served us the longest, Delar. With the Dark Lord's help, you managed to achieve many breakthroughs. You are not a mere summoner anymore. I name you the King of the Undead. You will command the undead army in the future. Soon, you will have everything you need to further improve yourself in summoning and controlling the undead. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? To be continued. Chapter 632, Initializing the Order of Death 2. Initializing the Order of Death. After Delar returned to his seat, Gaia chose Gibson. He rose up from his chair. Gibson, you are someone we both didn't fully utilize. Your experience in navigation and ability to keep the pirates together from killing each other is truly amazing. Gaia chuckled, lighting the mood a bit. If Corey is the Queen of the Seas, you will be the King of the Skies. You will command the air force we are about to build. Until then, you're to commandeer the Big Bertha and hunt down the rogue pirates. Although Michael eradicated the pirates after killing Vance, there were some pirates who went rogue instead of serving under Michael. They preferred to stick to the old ways than serve someone else. Michael received reports about these rogue pirates from Corey, but he decided to let them roam around until this moment. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Asked Gaia. As expected, Gibson dropped to his knee and swore his loyalty to Michael and Gaia. At this moment, only Titus, Optimus, Sadie, and Maxine remained without a task or title. It changed for Sadie when Gaia turned her gaze toward her. Sadie took a deep breath, rising from her chair. Sadie Kaplan. Gaia didn't show any hatred towards Sadie in her voice. Granted, Sadie and Michael had a thing when they were in the river town. Gaia used to hate Sadie to the core, but everything changed after Michael put a ring around her finger. Compared to others on the table, you know about the true face of the Guardians more. You witnessed how they stood aside, doing nothing when your fellow sisters were ravaged and sold as slaves to the southern continent. The Guardians knew this and still used them as bait to catch the Dark Lord. The Guardians called the Dark Lord evil, but how many girls went missing after you agreed to serve the Dark Lord? None, Gaia exclaimed. We will use the girls in your sect. Gaia's words stunned everyone, but her following words calmed them down. But not as the Guardians or the others. We will never ask the girls to whore themselves for us. By agreeing to serve the Dark Lord, you made sure the girls lived with dignity as everyone should in this world. Instead, we will gather information through the girls. Knowledge is wealth, and you are sitting on an untapped treasure trove. So I name you as the Queen of Whispers. Soon, you will know everything that happens in the world. Sadie Kaplan, do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Sadie took a deep breath as she knew there was no turning back now. Deep down, she saw no reason to turn back. If it weren't the Dark Lord, someone else would use them. That wouldn't change for the Silver Moon. The world would always treat them as sluts due to their cultivation method. At least if she served the Dark Lord, her sisters would be safe. If you want to read more chapters, please visit FreeWeb Novel. Calm to experience faster update speed. I accept and serve you with the best of my ability, Dark Lord, Dark Queen. Sadie knelt down. To their surprise, the Dark Lord opened his mouth. I see you have reached the core strengthening stage. But your sex cultivation method brings you more harm than good. Soon, I will grant you a new cultivation method. Introduce that to your sect and put a stop to getting slut-shamed once and for all. Sadie's heart skipped a beat. Then her eyes automatically watered. Since these words were spoken by the Dark Lord, she knew it wasn't a false promise. If someone could show a new way of cultivating, it was him. Of course, Michael didn't promise Sadie completely out of the goodness in his heart. Among all his subordinates, Sadie was the most important one. He could replace Lord information with Sadie and create a powerful web of spies throughout the world. Knowledge was a powerful weapon in this world if one knows how to use it. Using the Silver Moon girls, he could mine the information from every corner of the world. The nobles tended to spit out valuable information when they were in the company of pretty girls. Once he built the Silver Moon sect in every kingdom, they would function as a treasure trove of information. Coupled with his spiders and drones, Silver Moon could be his most powerful asset. Thank you, Dark Lord, Sadie bowed. The moment Michael upgraded the system to the next level, he planned to buy a new cultivation technique for the Silver Moon girls. If the girls weren't strong enough to protect themselves, many nobles would feast on them like animals. By being strong, those girls could protect themselves rather than depend on someone else. Michael was sure the system would have something super powerful to speed up their cultivation by other means instead of leeching off someone's lust. After Sadie returned to her seat, Gaia looked at Maxine. When Gaia met Maxine, she was a fat, plumpy woman to the point Maxine could kill a commoner by rolling on them. However, after a few moments, the plumpy woman was nowhere to be seen. Instead, all they could see was a fit young woman with just enough fat to make her pretty. Maxine rose from her chair. Her eyes were filled with devotion towards the Dark Lord and the Order. There is no need for me to explain how important you are to the Order and how loyal you are to us. I have no doubt whatever task we give you, you will serve us with pride and joy. Gaia patted Maxine on the shoulder as Maxine shed tears of happiness. I am not worthy of such praise, Dark Queen. You are Maxine. That's why I am naming you the Queen of Power. What you are doing in Stormville Mountain is of grave importance. The reason why I named you the Queen of Power is your task can and will make everyone stronger and more powerful, including the people in the hall. Soon, you will receive the necessary tools to create more devices that would enable everyone to cultivate, even inside the void line. They all shuddered. Up to this moment, only Maxine, Tiberius, and Corey received the device that uses arch-energy crystals to perform simple tasks such as accessing space rings or conjuring a small orb of fire. However, Michael planned to build better devices to enable his subordinates to cultivate with the help of Elidar. Now that he had made a deal with Hydra, he didn't worry about waking it up. He could even send special mining devices to mine Stormville Mountain deeper. Once he built these devices, his subordinates could cultivate whether they were in or outside the void line. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novelnext.com to experience faster update speed. Do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? Maxine immediately dropped to one knee. Until I draw my last breath, Dark Queen, Michael nodded. Among everyone, she was the most loyal subordinate. To be honest, Michael felt lucky to have a hardworking, loyal subordinate such as Maxine. Just her physical transformation was enough for Michael to keep Maxine in high regard than the others. He had no doubt Maxine would serve him to the best of her abilities. Finally, Gaia and Michael turned their gazes to Titus and Optimus. The twins rose from their chairs, looking a bit nervous. Compared to the rest, they had the least experience serving the Dark Lord. Except for Tiberius and Arya, they didn't know the others. This was the first time they had seen all the subordinates under one roof. They had only heard about the others from Arya before this moment. Titus, Optimus, Gaia uttered their names slowly. Despite your knack for battle and wars, I have a feeling you don't want to fight anymore. Am I right? She spoke exactly what they were thinking as though she had read their minds. After fighting like animals for entertainment, almost dying, and leaving their little sister alone, Titus and Optimus lost their fire to fight. This was their second chance, and they wanted to live doing something else other than fighting for someone. They fought enough for one lifetime. Since the Dark Queen obviously knew what was in their mind, they chose to nod their heads. Yes, Dark Queen, said Titus and Optimus in unison. You had fought enough for one lifetime. Once again, she spoke exactly what they were thinking in their minds. It creeped and terrified them at the same time. There are many other ways to help the Order without shedding blood. And I will give something just as important as killing our foes. To be honest, that was the reason why we placed you in the Bradford Army. We wanted you to get acquainted with people other than Southerners. If Sadie is tasked with gathering information, you two will procure resources, materials, and weapons. Thus, I name you as the Kings of Supplies. I know it's completely different and out of your expertise, but with enough training, we are sure you will satisfy and exceed our expectations. Tiberius was completely taken aback by surprise. The twins were better fighters than even him. Yet, the Dark Queen had chosen to assign them to acquire materials. It seemed like a waste of talent to him. But knowing the Dark Lord, it was hard to believe he had made a mistake. To Tiberius' shock, the twins and Arya looked relieved and even delighted. So tell me, Titus and Optimus, do you accept the task and serve the Dark Lord and the Order with every fiber in your body? We accept wholeheartedly, Dark Queen. The twins dropped to one knee, placing their hands on the chest. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 633, System Version 6.0. When everything was said and done, Michael flicked his wrist. A wooden box materialized before every single on the table. Open it, said Gaia. The subordinates stared at the wooden box in front of them for a moment. Silence fell over them. Eventually, they opened the wooden box to see a dull-looking silver chain with a spider pendant attached, a ring, a tiny tubular object, and a small arch-energy crystal. Wear the chain and put on the ring, Gaia instructed them. After they all did what they were told, Gaia began to explain the reason why they gave a pendant and a space ring. That spider pendant attached to the chain lets us see what you see, Gaia waved her hand as handheld mirrors appeared before each subordinate. They noticed the mirrors showing what they were seeing. Some of them moved the spider around. The scenery in their mirrors changes. Except for Maxine, who knew about the spiders, the rest seemed stunned. You are to wear the spider all the time except when you want privacy. But you have to inform Azazel. How to contact him? Put the earpiece into your ear. Gaia opened her hands, showing the earpiece to everyone. The subordinates nodded before taking the earpiece from the box and putting it in their ears. Place your hand on the arch energy crystal. The subordinates one by one grabbed the glowing blue crystal lying on the wooden box's bottom. Sadie was the first to feel a storage sensation in her body when she touched the crystal. A few seconds later, her eyes went wide. A sliver of arch energy coursed through her veins. She felt a connection to the space ring on her finger and the earpiece she just put in her ear. Unlike the rest, Sadie knew the feeling of arch energy. So without a doubt, she could tell she had just felt arch energy within the void line. Although the others took longer to feel the strange sensation, they all shared the same stunned expressions on their faces. This device will let you communicate with Azazel. Gaia's words sounded inside their heads. The words of Gaia felt like a whisper, but the subordinates heard each of them clearly. It took them several seconds before they realized the words coming from the device in their ear. Now, I know most of you aren't familiar with the feeling of arch energy, but try to focus your mind to send a message. Feel the connection with the earpiece. Speak your names. Sadie. Sadie sent a message, looking at Azazel. When the old butler nodded, a gentle smile formed on her face. One by one, all the subordinates successfully sent a message. Of course, some failed, but Gaia didn't move on until everyone successfully spoke into the earpiece. They did it, my lady, Azazel informed Gaia. There was a tinge of pride in her heart. Although it was such a simple menial task, Gaia very well knew the grave importance of communication. With the silver chain and earpiece, the subordinates could contact Azazel anytime. You will be called this day every month. Under no circumstances are you to miss this gathering unless you are dead. Gaia's voice turned cold for a moment. Since you are all kings and queens, you need ministers and minions to do your bidding. From the next gathering, you can submit profiles of people you want to recruit to us. Also, this goes without saying, if you utter a single word about the Order or the Dark Lord, I will make you wish you were dead. They all could feel the sudden chillness in the air. If you have any questions or thoughts, you are free to speak now, said Gaia. After several seconds she sat on her throne. Tiberius cleared his throat. He stood up. Dark Lord, what should we do about Quintus and the assassin who killed Heinberg? The subordinates turned their gazes toward the Dark Lord, expecting to hear his answer. That's your first task, Michael slowly said. Coordinate with your fellow member, locate Quintus, and only if you can't kill him, contact Azazel for backup. Michael raised his finger. Training wheels are off from today. Tiberius nodded with absolute killing intent in his eyes. After Tiberius sat down, Corey rose from her chair. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Pardon me for my dumbness, Dark Lord, but what are our tasks? Corey scratched her head. She was proud and delighted to receive titles, but they didn't tell her what to do next. To be honest, Corey had no idea at all. You're the Queen of the Seas. Do whatever you like and can to strengthen your domain. That goes for everyone. Strengthen yourselves and your domains. Be better, be the best. Michael's thick voice resonated in the hall. With his words, they started to have some idea about their future. Coordinate with your fellow members when you need help or others' expertise. Remember this. Michael rose from his throne. He glanced at the subordinates briefly for a few moments. The people around you at the table are your family. Etch that into your brain deep. Got it? The subordinates bopped their heads up and down. If you don't have anything to say, you can leave, said Gaia. They all remained silent without anything to say. Thus, Michael willed the system to teleport them back to where they came from. After the subordinates left the crypt, Michael exhaled deeply before collapsing onto the throne. Silence fell for several seconds. Michael looked at the empty hall and the empty chairs around the table. He felt proud. A strange sense of achievement rose in his heart. That went okay. Michael removed his mask, threw it on the table, and put his legs atop. Azazel, Michael called for his demon butler. He walked around the throne to stand before Michael's eyes. You are more important to us and the Order. I hope you know that, said Michael. Although Michael's soul bounded Azazel with him, the demon had his own personality and thoughts. He wasn't a robot programmed to serve him until the end of times. It would be troublesome if the demon butler thought he was not as important as the other subordinates. So Michael wanted to clear things up before the demon butler could think like that. I am honored, my lord. Azazel's words and the look in his eyes satisfied Michael. Return to the dark forest and monitor the subordinates. As you wish, bowed Azazel. After dismissing Azazel, Michael waved his hand as a stack of gold coins appeared on the table. The mound of gold coins lit the place with its radiant gold light. What are you going to do? Asked Gaia. Judging by the stacks, Gaia could tell there were at least 10 million gold coins. Her guess was spot on. The mound of gold coins contained exactly 10 million gold coins. Turning them into power, Michael calmly said. Since they were alone in the hall, he didn't use his demonic voice. Under Gaia's curious gaze, Michael waved his hand. A bright light shot out of his body, enveloping the coins. The light swallowed the coins and in a few moments, the light disappeared along with all the coins. Gaia was startled. But when she turned her head, she saw a smile on his face. System, how long will it take you to upgrade yourself? Finally, the system exclaimed as though it was tired of waiting. 3 hours. The host will not be able to use the system during this time, said the system. Do it, Michael ordered the system. Coupled with the 300,000 badass points, the 400,000 badass points he got from converting the gold coins added a total of 700,000 badass points. As soon as Michael ordered, the badass points dropped from 700,000 to 100,000. Michael grinned despite losing the badass points and spending 10 million in a snap of time. He felt relieved to upgrade the system finally. Upon seeing the gold coins disappear, Gaia creased her brows. Whatever you did with the coins, I hope it's worth it. It is. Michael wrapped his hand around Gaia's slender waist. He pulled her closer while slowly removing her hand with the other hand. What are you doing? Chuckled Gaia. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. I think you know what I am going to do, he whispered in her ear. Although Gaia wasn't a blushing type, his words created a tinge of redness on her cheek. Upon seeing the blush, Michael pulled her even closer. He could feel her gentle breath and the sweet fragrance. Not wanting to waste the moment, Michael gently kissed Gaia on the forehead. Inch by inch, Michael lowered his lips until he met her lips. Gaia closed her eyes. Her hands explored every inch of his body. When she reached his head, she grabbed his hair and pulled his face closer to the point both of them enjoyed a heavenly kiss in peace and silence. After 3 hours, Michael and Gaia returned to their room. As Michael leaned back on the bed, Gaia and Nightmare slept peacefully beside him. Nightmare curled himself into a ball under Gaia's gentle embrace. Michael wanted to sleep, but he simply couldn't. The excitement to rummage through new spells kept him awake. The system upgrade is completed. Current system level 6, 0. The host can now have up to 25 subordinates. The host has received 1 free spell token as a gift for upgrading the system. The host will not get a fixed amount of experience points when slaying a cultivator. Arch Sensing Stage equals 0. Foundation Stage equals 5,000. Body Refining Stage equals 15,000. Body Strengthening Stage equals 50,000. Core Formation Stage equals 1,000,000. Core Strengthening Stage equals 2,000,000. Soul Refining Stage equals 3,000,000. Fusion Stage equals 5,000,000. Half. Immortal equals 1,000,000. Immortal equals 2,000,000. Michael creased his brows, looking at the experience points. The system reduced the number of points he would kill after each kill. As a result, leveling up had become harder than ever before. His smile froze on Michael's face. What the heck is this system? Michael asked the system. There was spite in his voice. Calm down, host. The system reduces the points so the host can cross the heavenly tribulation with a 0% chance of dying. Michael's shock and bitterness somewhat calmed down after hearing the system. The system has enabled subordinate kill experience points back. Now the host will receive experience points every time a subordinate kills a cultivator. New spells have been unlocked in the system store. As though the system wanted to change his mind towards something good, it reminded him of the new spells. Just like the system planned, hearing about the new spells made him smile again. Wasting no time, Michael immediately opened the system store to buy new spells. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 634. Buying new spells. When he opened the store, glowing blue cards appeared before his eyes. Michael swiped the cards telepathically. On top of the old spells, Michael saw several new ones. But, to be honest, he had a hard time choosing one. It had been some time since he had bought a new spell. As a result, he couldn't contain his excitement, but Michael didn't let his excitement get the better of him. So Michael decided to expand all the spells and compare them before choosing one. Spell name, Guardian Blade upgradable, yes effect. Creates a magical floating sword that'll protect the caster for a period of time. Current level, the sword will protect the caster for 2 minutes. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 50% less damage. Spell name, Lightning Shield upgradable, yes effect. Creates a barrier of electric energy. Current level, Lightning Shield will absorb any magical and physical attacks below or at the body strengthening stage. Spell name, Silene's upgradable, yes effect. Creates a bubble in which time is stopped for a short period. Current level, the bubble lasts for 5 seconds. The area of effect is a 0.5 meter radius. Spell name, Starfire upgradable, yes effect. Creates a weapon of fiery energy. Current level, the fire sword's duration is 1 minute. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 50% less damage. Spell name, Demon's Wrath upgradable. Yes, this chapter upload first at NovelBin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed effect. Creates a beam of powerful dark plasma energy. Current level, the beam can be fired from one hand. Regardless of defenses, anyone at or below the core formation stage can be killed instantly. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Spell name, Alteraro Vulgecto upgradable, no effect. Creates a demonic portal to a different dimension. Spell name, Eyes of Doom upgradable, yes effect. An ability to store dark energy in the eyes and emit it in black optic blasts. Current level, capable of penetrating through anyone at or below the core formation stage instantly. A strange feeling of excitement rose in his heart. He couldn't choose a spell without having second thoughts. Every single spell seemed so powerful and useful, even the Guardian Blade and the Starfire. Which one? Michael asked himself. After a deep thought, Michael waved his hand, removing the Guardian Blade and Starfire. Although those two spells seemed powerful, especially after he upgraded them, Michael didn't see any use for them at the moment. Why should he have a sword made of fire or energy when he could use Doombringer and Ignorita? Compared to the rest, those spells looked the worst. The remaining 5 spells floated before his eyes. Each of them was unique, powerful, and had its own uses. Some might look weak at the current level, but Michael knew they would become overpowered once he upgraded them. He could hardly remove a spell among the current 5. He only had 1 ticket to get a free spell. So he did not want to waste it. For a few minutes, Michael imagined him using each and every spell. He created countless scenarios in his mind to test the spells. I can buy scrolls and use portals in the world to move between realms. So I can remove the Alteraro Vulgecto. Michael waved his hand as the portal spell disappeared from his sight. As Michael thought, several portals connected to other dimensions and realms. With enough gold coins and contact, anyone could use these portals to travel between the realms. For example, Gaia used such a portal to travel to the fire realm. Unlike the other spells, the portal spell could be substituted by the portals in the world. Hence, Michael chose to remove the portal spell. Afterward, he once again focused on the spells before him. In his ghost persona, he had both offense and defense spells. Additionally, he also possessed the black shield to defend himself from physical attacks. However, when it comes to his Dark Lord form, he had 0 unique spells. He had been using ghost spells and betting that his enemies wouldn't escape. In case someone battled with the Dark Lord and escaped, they could eventually connect ghosts to the Dark Lord using the spells. This was a major weakness the Dark Lord had. To rectify this weakness, Michael knew he must buy at least one offense and defense spell that was unique to the Dark Lord. His gaze was fixed on the spell named Silenes. Even though the spell had a short duration of 5 seconds and a short area of effect, the spell's effect was a game changer. With the right weapon and skill, Michael could kill anyone and change the tide of a battle. Simply put, the spell could be his trump card. But what stopped Michael from immediately buying the spell was his lack of a powerful weapon and an offensive spell. Without them, there was no point pausing the time. At least if Michael had a teleportation spell that teleported him regardless of whether he was in a battle or not, he would have bought it. Since it wasn't the case, Michael heaved a sigh and removed the spell from the list. Nonetheless, he decided to buy the spell for sure in the near future. 3 spells were out, and 3 spells remained. Among the 3, 1 was a defensive spell, and the rest were offensive spells. His mind once again created scenarios to assess each spell's advantages and disadvantages. Having the responsive shield made the lightning shield redundant, at least at this moment. Also, the responsive shield was invisible. Therefore, connecting ghosts to Dark Lord might be a bit difficult. Besides, the best offense was the best defense. Due to those reasons, Michael removed the lightning shield from the list. Finally, there were only 2 spells before Michael. Spell name, Demon's Wrath Upgradable, yes effect, creates a beam of powerful dark plasma energy. Current level, the beam can be fired from one hand. Regardless of defenses, anyone at or below the core formation stage can be killed instantly, regardless of defenses. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Spell name, Eyes of Doom Upgradable. Yes, this chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed effect. An ability to store dark energy in the eyes and emit it in black optic blasts. Current level, capable of penetrating through anyone at or below the core formation stage regardless of defenses. Anyone above the core formation stage will receive 65% less damage. Upon casting the spells, each would yield the same result as the other. But what differentiated the spells was their appearance. For example, the Demon's Wrath would let Michael fire a blast of dark plasma energy from his hand while the Eyes of Doom would fire optic laser blasts from his eyes. Now Michael had to decide between the 2 spells, thinking which would make him look cooler. Eyes of Doom knocked the Demon's Wrath out of the park when he imagined himself using both spells. Firing black laser beams from his eyes undoubtedly took the crown from his point of view. With this spell, he didn't even have to raise a finger but just had to look at his opponents. Upon finally deciding, Michael willed the system to use the free token on the Eyes of Doom. Ding! The host has successfully acquired the Level 1 Eyes of Doom. Eyes of Doom current range 20 meters. System, what's the cost of buying Silenes? 500,000. Michael's heart skipped a beat when he heard the outrageous price. It made sense given the spell's effect, yet 500,000 seemed too much in his mind. Furrowing his brows, Michael asked the system. What's the cost of Eyes of Doom? Asked Michael. 500,000. Once again, the system shocked Michael, who heaved a sigh of relief. In case the Eyes of Doom was way cheaper than the Silenes, his heart would have ached for not choosing Silenes despite his reasonings. I can't wait to test this baby, Michael grinned. Exiting the system, Michael turned his gaze to Gaia. She was still peacefully sleeping with Nightmare in her embrace. He removed the blanket covering his leg up to the knees and walked towards the window. The moonless sky drew his attention. For a few moments, Michael just stared at the dark sky. Eladir, Michael established a connection to contact Eladir. Due to the task of building a teleportation array in the Dark Forest mansion, Eladir couldn't make it to the gathering. Michael ordered Eldadi to try to finish the array before they returned to Mazeroth. There were only 5 days left in their holidays. After that, Michael had to return to Mazeroth. Not that Michael wanted to graduate from Mazeroth, but he wanted to explore the Ukilun realm. It might be risky, yet if he didn't take this risk, he would lose the chance to unravel more about his enemies. The more he learns about the Sky Hall, the better chance he has of beating them. Dark Lord, Eladir's voice sounded in Michael's head. Michael sensed a bit of frustration in the Dark Elf's voice. "How's everything?" asked Michael. "I need more materials, Dark Lord. I can't swing my hands and create a teleportation array just like that." "Work, you piece of shit." Michael heard Eladir kicking something in frustration. Upon hearing the pissed Dark Elf, Michael decided to cut his conversation short. "Give a list of everything you need to Azazel. I will personally see to it. Finally, some good news. Please, get me those things as soon as possible. I could have bought them, but if I leave this array unfinished, I have to do it again from scratch," said Eladir with way less frustration than before in his voice. "I will look around in the Aqua Palace. If there is a place I can get what you need, it's this place," said Michael. "Watch your back, Dark Lord. Elves might seem pretty and harmless, but they are the vilest evil creatures in the entire world," Eladir warned Michael before Michael ended the communication. After everything was said and done, Michael took a deep breath. He finished everything he had in his mind for the day. Yet one thing remained, drilling his mind. "Who are you?" asked Michael, looking at the moonless dark sky. Michael recalled the black-robed woman. A strange sense of familiarity rose in his heart. But more than anything, Michael wanted to unmask the woman and learn more about her. Chapter 635. Immortal killing weapon. The next day, Michael, Nightmare, and Gaia returned to their VIP room for the last day of the auction with Eve and the Elders. Since Michael spent 8 million on the Ancient Ice Core and 10 million on the banker function, he only had 7 million in his system storage and 4 million in his Grandspire bank account. By the time they reached their room, the arena was overflowing with people. There wasn't a single empty seat in the entire arena. Even the VIP rooms got crowded with various elders. As soon as Michael plunged into his sofa, he activated his thermal vision to look into the Thusian VIP room. To his surprise, there were only silhouettes of men, not any women. "She's gone," Michael mumbled under his breath. It was a good thing Layla left the Aqua Palace early. After buying a full skeleton of a dragon, many rogues and nobles might target her regardless of her cultivation stage. She was a big thing in Elon, but in R, where every prominent family had at least a fusion stage cultivator, her life would be in danger if she outstayed her welcome. Not to mention the Golden Prince, who failed to buy the dragon skeleton even after trying to use his family background. "Any plans to buy something else today?" asked Eve. "Depends on the items," Gaia simply shrugged. "You have something in mind?" Eve turned her head to look at Michael. "No one knows what they will show today. They keep the last day items tightly lid." Michael couldn't care less about the auction anymore. Even if they showed priceless items, he simply lacked the coins to buy them. He doubted he could buy something for 7 million coins. Besides, Michael came to the auction just for entertainment. Now that he had given the subordinates a road map of what to do, he didn't have anything for himself to do other than pass his time traveling around R. He leaned back, staring at the empty grass field. Michael canceled all the noises around him, including the chit-chatter between Gaia, Eve, and Nightmare. Several minutes later, Rick's ton finally appeared in the sky. "Ladies and gentlemen," his raspy voice echoed through the arena. The crowd instantly stopped their chatter almost simultaneously. Silence fell over the arena for a couple of minutes. They all simply watched Rick's ton look around the ground. A glimmer of satisfaction emerged in the old man's eyes. Finally, Rixton raised his hand. "Let the final day of the Aqua auction begin." The sound of Rixton's voice, louder beyond human limit due to the arch energy. When he dropped his hand, the iron pillars slowly emerged from the ground. To everyone's surprise, they saw a piece of yellowish bone atop the pillar. "Ulna," Michael mumbled to himself. Although the bone had several chips and looked ancient, there was no doubt in Michael's mind. The bone was an ulna. Whether it belonged to a human or another race member, Michael did not know. Compared to the dragon skeleton, the energy radiation coming from the ulna bone was on another level. If the energy radiated by the dragon skeleton was a pond, the energy coming from the ulna was an ocean. At the same time, Michael noticed countless runes glow in the ground around the bone. The runes harmlessly dispersed the energy radiation. Otherwise, the commoners below the core formation stage would choke to death. An immortal's bone, Gaia gasped in shock. Everyone glared at the bone without moving their gazes. But only a few like Gaia could recognize the bone's origin. This chapter upload first at NovelBin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit NovelNext.com to experience faster update speed. What's with these people and bones? Michael creased his brows. This was the second time Michael saw bones startling the crowd. Unknown to Michael, the Aqua Palace sent their treasure hunters to the treacherous ocean and to the demon's grave. Both these places were basically ancient graveyards. They found the dragon skeleton in the treacherous ocean and the immortal bone in the demon's grave. It was a dangerous expedition. The Aqua Palace lost several powerful men. But thanks to the Arctic Hall of Sea Folks, the Aqua Palace had no lack of powerful people. Unlike the cultivators on the land, the Sea Folks avoided wars. As a matter of fact, the Sea Folks only had one war several thousand years ago. But that war was nowhere close to the great wars the humans, elves, or any other race living on the land had gone through in the number of casualties. Each war put the cultivators on land several hundred years behind the Sea Folk. This was the major reason why the Sea Folks had countless fusion stage cultivators while they were such a rare commodity on the land. Many curiously waited for Rixton to explain. Ladies and gentlemen, this is an arm bone of an immortal. It contains 20 times more energy than the dragon skeleton. As some of you might know, that's not what makes this bone or any bone of an immortal a diamond among artifacts. Rixton paused for a moment to let the people guess what made a bone of an immortal so special to the point it would cause war between kingdoms. Michael turned his gaze to Gaia. But before she could answer Michael, Rixton continued. Only a weapon made of immortal bone can kill another immortal. A simple short sentence from Rixton had caused countless gasps in the arena. Those who thought an immortal could not be killed were completely in shock, including Michael. Granted, an immortal would be completely immune to aging, sickness, and injuries. After crossing the tribulation, each step into the half-immortal stage would have a body that's free of all the above. However, that didn't mean they were invisible. Standard weapons leave no cuts as their bodies were simply too strong. But the only weapon capable of killing a half-immortal or an immortal was a weapon made of an immortal's bone. What makes the immortal bone a treasure counted by many is, Rixton raised a finger, only a weapon made from an immortal bone could kill another immortal. A strange feeling of disappointment emerged in Michael's heart. Michael's mind momentarily went blank. What was the point of calling them immortals if the immortals could be killed? Michael did not have any answer to his own question. System, do I need an immortal bone to kill other immortals? The host can choose between various weapons and blueprints in the system store. There is no need for you to look for bones unless you have too much money and far less intelligence. Michael creased his brows, hearing the ridicule in the system's voice. He initially thought the immortals could not be killed and only he could slay them with the help of the system. Then, however, he was proven wrong. According to Rixton, anyone with a piece of immortal's bone could slay another immortal. You won't find a little piece of immortal bone, let alone a large piece such as this. It's something even the Aqua Palace could get once a century, if we are lucky. Upon hearing Rixton, many shuddered. They silently gasped. Many who sat in the first row felt their heads throb. Despite the runes, the leaking radiation still affected some people. Hence, Rixton cut his description shorter than he initially planned. He knew the elders from the prominent families didn't need any more explanation. The starting price of this immortal bone is 400 million, 500, 600, 800, 1 billion. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed, 1.3 billion, 1.5 billion. The bids continued to rise rapidly. There was no pause between each bid. None of the elders seemed to let go of the bone. 2 billion, Gaia shouted from the room. 2.2 billion. As Michael expected, someone else quickly counterbid Gaia. Silence fell over in Voldegard's room. They all stared at the rising bids in utter disarray. Even when they were in their prime, forking out 5 billion was not a simple thing. The minutes passed fast. What started at 500 million climbed so high that the Golden Prince bid 6 billion for the bone. After losing the dragon skeleton to Layla due to a lack of coins that day, the Golden Prince brought all of his wealth with him. Michael looked at the auction, feasting on the grapes beside him. Whenever he threw a grape into his mouth, someone raised the bid by 300 million. Where do you think they got this bone? Asked Michael. Demon's Grave would be my bet, said Eve. Demon's Grave, huh? Michael nodded. After completing his studies in Emazaroth, Michael could visit the Demon's Grave. With the system at his disposal, the most dangerous place in the world might become his treasure trove. Imagine how rich he would be if he found an immortal skeleton. While Michael was in deep thinking, the bid of the bone finally began to slow down. 8 billion. The Golden Prince's voice resonated in the arena. 10 billion. Suddenly, an elder from the Hunt family surprised everyone by raising the bid by 2 billion. Hunt elders. The Golden Prince initiated a conversation with the elders. Before his words, Michael didn't know the ones who counterbid the prince was the Hunts. If we counterbid each other, we can go till tomorrow. Why don't we split the bone in half? Upon hearing the Golden Prince's words, many trembled. Even Rixton stared at the prince's room with wide eyes. For a few moments, the auction stopped as silence took over the arena. Many hoped the Hunt elders would ignore the Golden Prince so they could see a battle between two monstrous powers in awe. They were the people who hated auctions with no battles and deaths. But to their shock, the Hunt elders agreed. Only if we can also split the final bid, an elder with a raspy voice spoke. Just like that, the Aqua Palace lost billions. Allowing two bidders to communicate was a massive weakness in the auction process. Michael would make the auction anonymous if he were to open an auction house. That way, no one could sway the auction using family backgrounds or shady deals. But Michael admired the prince for striking such a deal instead of using his family background to threaten the opposition or pour more gold coins into the bid. With this deal, he got half a bone for 5 billion. Although the Golden Prince had gold coins, the Hunt family was not inferior to the Empress or the royal family. They both had almost unlimited gold coins. After all, the Hunts controlled countless businesses and connections with the sea folks themselves. As a matter of fact, they owned 5 gold mines in the Azer continent alone. Finally, the immortal bone went for the price of 10 billion, although it could have simply crossed past 15 billion. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 636. Someone from the past under the crimson-red sky. The castle of vampires stood imposingly. The vampires, adorned in complete black robes from head to toe, patrolled the castle ground in utter silence. Except for the winds howling, there was no sound across the area. As they patrolled the castle grounds, Saber appeared in the red sky out of thin air. He looked at his vampires for a moment, lingering in the sky. Saber slowly descended towards the castle. Seeing their lord, the vampires halted their steps. Their bodies went rigid as they bowed towards Saber. Despite Saber's young look, handsome face, and gentle smile on that handsome face, he was the most terrifying elder vampire among the elder vampires. Fear gleamed behind the vampire's dark hood. Under their fearful eyes, Saber landed at the doorsteps. As though the door had sensed the presence of Saber, it slowly opened with a creak. "Good to be home," Saber mumbled to himself. He might be staying in the land of the Rick, but his heart always yearned for this castle. No place in this world could come anywhere close to the vampire castle as far as he was concerned. A gentle smile emerged on his face. Saber navigated through the intricate dark corridors and arrived at a gray stone wall. He placed his hand on the wall, sending a sliver of arch energy into it. In a few seconds, the wall trembled, and the gray stones slowly moved inwards, forming an archway to a dimly lit hall. When Saber stepped into the hall, he was welcomed by two cloaked figures on their knees. Their faces were completely hidden beneath their hood. Under the gray rags, grayish-like decayed faces drew a long, rattling breath, as though they were trying to suck something more than air from their surroundings. Saber walked around the hall with his hands behind him. He noticed the bloody tables, blood-stained walls, and jars filled with human organs. The hall would make anyone crinkle their noses or outright throw up. However, Saber didn't even lose his smile. After going a full round around the room, Saber finally halted his steps in front of the two kneeling figures. He jumped up on a steel table, ignoring its blood stains. Whose idea was it to create a plague in R? Saber asked. His voice almost sounded like a child's, a playful child's. The two cloaked figures slowly raised their heads. Silence fell over them. I asked you a question. His playful tone contained a hint of killing intent. The two cloaked figures shuddered. Eventually, a growling voice of a woman came from one of the cloaked figures. Lord Nello ordered me to create the plague, Elder Saber. The cloaked figure shivered. Is that so? Saber slightly tilted his little head. But I didn't want to, the cloaked figure panicked. Why is that? Asked Saber. Because Elder Saber hasn't told me to. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Saber's grin grew wider. Good answer. Saber's voice was stark contrast to the cloaked figure. Saber turned his gaze to the cloaked figure named Nello. Nello, why did you order her to create this plague? If this old memory of mine serves me right, I didn't tell you to do so. Once again, silence enveloped the hall. No one uttered a word to break the silence. Eventually, Saber's chilling laughter cut through the silence. I turned you to do one simple task, follow my orders. Is that difficult to do? Nello? Asked Saber. His voice was full of murderous lust. A weak man would have fainted at the mere feeling of the cold aura radiating from Saber. My lord dash, Nello's words were abruptly cut short by Saber. With a single look, Saber created a vacuum around Nello's head. Nello gasped for air, yet there was no air around him to breathe. It's my fault. I put you here to oversee her work, not order her around. Maybe I wasn't clear about that. Saber's brows arched up. He played drums on the steel table nonchalantly. For a few minutes, Saber let Nello gasp for air without lifting a finger. Eventually, when Nello was about to lose consciousness, Saber simply waved his hand. Nello gasped for air. His chest rose up and down, frantically breathing as much air as possible. Fabia, did you know someone out there found a cure for the plague you created? Anyone from Giselle would have immediately recognized the name. Fabia Viridius, daughter of former Giselle Senator Viridius. Michael blew the stage with all the senators of Giselle on it 7 months ago. Everyone, including Michael, thought Fabia had died in that explosion along with her father. She would have died if it wasn't for Saber, who rescued her and turned her into a vampire. Before that, Saber funded Fabia's experiments on Flamefare, almost killing Titus and Optimus. The major weaknesses all the vampires had were sunlight and thirst for blood. Saber wanted to change that. Hence, he handpicked some of the genius brains in the world and made them work for him one way or another. Among the geniuses, Fabia was the smartest. Before Michael blew the stage with her on it, she was on the verge of a breakthrough. Her brutal experiments included people native to the southern continent and cultivators. Now that she was turned into a vampire and given a portal to travel between the southern continent and Flamefare, she had a large victim pool at her disposal. No one in Flamefare knew Fabia was controlling their Duke, and Saber controlled Fabia. Simply put, Saber was controlling Flamefare for decades. But Flamefare was one of the kingdoms indirectly controlled by the vampires. Every kingdom in the world had at least one vampire among them, controlling the kingdom from the shadows. That was how the vampires stayed in the shadows for such a long time. Whenever some adventurer or a scholar stumbled upon something vampire-related, they would immediately kill them before. Surprise and shock glistened in Fabia's eyes under the dark hood covering her head. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, you can speak freely, Fabia. Seeing Fabia stutter in fear, Saber said, smiling at her. It wasn't my best work, my lord. Lord Nello only gave me a week. Any oblivious man would have been startled by her words. In a mere 1 week, Fabia created something that almost brought down the most powerful continent in the world. Suppose Michael hadn't intervened, Nello's plan would have been a success. Unfortunately, Michael threw a huge wrench in Nello's plan. If Nello had done the same a few months ago, Saber would have killed him instantly. However, everything changed. The vampires were no longer a myth. A journalist, with the help of a guardian, exposed them with evidence. Although it was the Royal News who published an article about the vampires, Saber had a feeling someone else puppeteered everything from behind. Was it the same person who sent a threatening letter? Saber couldn't find an answer to the question. Let's just say you had more resources and time. Would you say you can create something no one could find a cure for? Asked Saber. Yes. Fabia didn't even take a few seconds to think about it. She had monstrous trust in her abilities. With Saber's support, she knew she could create a new strain of plague that no one could cure. Her answers satisfied Saber. Her confidence and her abilities were what made her such a valuable asset. Otherwise, Saber would have let her burn to death. Looking at the smile on Saber's face, Fabia sighed inside. The smile symbolized she had evaded a death sentence from her master. But the same could not be said for Nello. To be honest, Fabia wanted Nello out of her way. He was a restriction to her experiments. A few days ago, Nello almost canceled her plan to turn Quintus into a vampire. It took a lot of convincing. That time could have been used to do something else. So Fabia rooted for Saber to kill Nello. As far as she was concerned, he was just an obstacle between her and her success. No matter what, she had to appease Saber so he would bring her father back to life. What are you currently working on? Asked Saber. Although he didn't let his subordinates do whatever they wanted, he gave them an extent of freedom. Unlike Nello, Saber avoided micromanaging his subordinates. As long as they yield results for Saber, he funded their experiments. At the moment, Saber had 12 secret laboratories worldwide, and each one of them had a genius like Fabia working on the betterment of vampires. They were all preparing for the possible war against the Dark Lord. Hybrid soldiers, my lord. I have successfully created an assassin. Now I have put a hybrid warrior on the field and waiting for results. Fabia's voice had a tinge of pride. The assassin she created successfully killed a seasoned warrior such as Heimberg in a matter of seconds. Compared to the assassin, Fabia had more hopes and expectations for the hybrid warrior she had recently created. He was none other than General Quintus. According to Fabia's calculations, turning Quintus into a half-vampire would amplify his abilities by several folds. He could take on an army single-handedly without any use of archenergy. I want to see him in action. Where did you send your hybrid warrior? Asked Saber. He couldn't help feeling curious. Despite the mysterious one's threat, Saber decided to take a look at Fabia's new creation. He is currently waging war against Kingdom Prerid, my lord. With the vampire genes in his body, Fabia knew Quintus would be turning the tide of the war single-handedly as they were speaking. Even she wanted to see his creation in action. Unfortunately, she had more pressing tasks that needed her absolute focus. Wonderful. I will see him myself. Sabway clapped his hands as he jumped down from the steel table. He stretched his arms, yawning. He turned around to leave the hall. Seeing Saber walking towards the exit, Nello sighed. However, his relief was short-lived. Before stepping into the archway, Saber just snapped his finger as Nello exploded into a bloody black mist. Clean the mess, Fabia. You got what you wished for. So get back to work now. No one will order you around anymore. Chapter 637. The Demon Commander back on Elon, Noah sat near the calm pond, meditating. His chest rose and fell with a certain rhythm. He became one with the blowing wind around him. Noah allowed no guards in the Guardian when he meditated. Thus, only the withered trees and flower plants accompanied him. Once in a while, a few snowy flakes gently danced down, swaying in the wind. Whenever a snowflake hit the calm pond, Noah's eyes would twitch. While Noah was meditating, Yasmin Winston entered the garden. Unlike when she met Ghost, she was in light blue robes void of any armor pieces. She slowly walked towards Noah on the paved pathway. Her sword dangled around her waist every time she took a step. Noah's ear twitched. "My dear cousin," Yasmin said with a playful tone. Thanks to Yasmin, Noah's 2 days of meditation finally came to a halt. He slowly opened his eyes. The clear pond and the red maple tree on the other side was a magnificent view in Noah's mind. In his 2 decades of life, he meditated in several places. Some of these places were dreams for a rogue cultivator. But to Noah, the garden created by his mother was the best place to meditate. It had certain tranquility the other places lacked. Yasmin, Noah looked over his shoulder to see his cousin standing a couple of meters behind him. "So this is what you do in your free time?" asked Yasmin. "Meditation is just as important as cultivation. A calm mind is a weapon of itself." Noah turned around. His eyes were just as calm as the pond behind him. Unknowing to Noah himself, he radiated a powerful aura. Normal cultivators failed to sense this aura, but Yasmin did. It would have been a surprise if she failed to sense it. After all, she was created by one of the elders in Skyhall. Noah and his family were completely oblivious to the fact Yasmin was a clone. The elders created Yasmin with one objective in their minds: monitor Noah Winston and report everything back to the Skyhall. Despite being a clone, Yasmin inherited all the memories and habits of the Bodis owner, the real Yasmin Watson. "Where is everyone?" asked Noah. He looked around for a moment, climbing down the steps of the elevated platform he was meditating on. Inside, discussing the war as usual. "Are you going with your father to the front lines?" Yasmin asked nonchalantly. Instead of giving her an answer, Noah walked through the withered plants resulting from the upcoming winter. Usually by this time, the garden would be filled with chirping birds, squirrels, and beautiful flowers that danced with the wind. However, the cold winter breeze changed the scenery. War should be our last resort. It's a pity Duke Avon is so desperate for it. One man's ego is going to destroy so many lives, Noah sighed. His heart ached thinking of all the destruction and deaths a war would bring. When the vampire clan was out there lusting for their blood, humankind and all the races should be united. Yet they were all ignorant and fighting among themselves. Although Noah hated wars, he knew some of them were just inevitable, just like the one between Icefair and Flamefair. Due to Alicia's family, Noah's family had to side with Duke Marvin, the Duke of Pentown, in the upcoming war. Thinking about the war, Noah wished he was at the fusion stage. If he was, he could have stopped the war once and for all. Only because of his search for the Dark Lord killing arrows made by Mazeroth founders, did he not get enough time to cultivate. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed. It had been 2 months since Noah had any breakthroughs in his cultivation. He was stuck in the core strengthening stage level 8 and couldn't reach the next level. For a normal cultivator, going without having a breakthrough for a couple of months was nothing. They only leveled up once a year or so. But for Noah, it was strange, very strange. Obviously, the Skyhall noticed Noah's cultivation being halted. So they sent Yasmin to fix the situation. After all, if Noah wasn't strong enough, he wouldn't be able to fight the Dark Lord, and if he didn't, they couldn't get rid of the Dark Lord and control the last man standing. "I need your help with something, Noah," asked Yasmin while following Noah. "What is it?" asked Noah. "In my travel with my mentor, I stumbled upon a pocket dimension filled with treasures, rare artifacts, and valuables. Apparently, it was left behind by a half-immortal. You want me to come with you?" Noah halted his steps. When he turned around, Yasmin nodded. I know it's sudden, but I really need something in there. If you could help me find it, you can have anything you find there. Since you are my cousin, I won't ask for a share. How about it? Yasmin winked at Noah. Suppose someone else asked him to venture into an unknown pocket dimension, Noah would have outright rejected them. Furthermore, he would have become suspicious. However, Noah didn't even blink an eye when Yasmin asked him for help. Because Noah trusted his family. For him, his family was everything. Never in a million years would he doubt his family. Yasmin Watson might be his cousin, but she was no different than his little sister Sabrina. He loved them both the same. So when she asked his help, Noah agreed right away without even considering the dangers of venturing into a pocket dimension left by a half-immortal. Even an oblivious man could tell the pocket dimension would be riddled with traps and dangerous. After all, cultivators hardly left behind their stuff with no protection. Where is this pocket dimension? Asked Noah. With a grin, Yasmin flicked her wrist as a gold ring materialized on her palm. This ring would open a portal to the pocket dimension anywhere. Toss the ring, and boom, instant portal straight to the destination. This is a rare portal ring. The pocket dimension must be ancient. Shouldn't we get more people with us? Noah creased his brows. He had heard about the portal rings from Andreas, but this was the first time he had seen one with his eyes. When Yasmin heard his question, her heart skipped a beat. Her master ordered her to bring Noah alone to the dimension. The Sky Hall elders wanted Noah to get the items left for him. If they brought others, they might get them before Noah. Even if Noah got them first, the chances of Noah sharing those gifts with others were significantly high. And share what we find with others? Hell no. Where's my cousin, you chicken? Yasmin punched Noah in the shoulder. Yasmin hid her true intention behind a playful chuckle. Unfortunately, due to Noah's weakness in the family, he couldn't see through her. This chapter upload first at novel.bin.net. Will you at least let me say goodbye to father and mother, or should I run behind you into the pocket dimension? Noah rolled his eyes. You have 5 minutes. Yasmin raised her hand, showing 5 fingers. But what about Norvin? He can help us locate treasures. As a golden Babaru, Norvin possessed a special ability to locate treasures. Ever since Noah picked up Norvin from the forest surrounding Royal Land, the golden Babaru helped him find countless treasures. In other words, Norvin played a huge role in Noah's heaven-defying cultivation speed. Additionally, Norvin could also locate hidden traps and defense arrays. Noah knew these abilities could come in real handy once they were inside the pocket dimension. Allow him. Suddenly, Yasmin heard her master Devdan's voice in her head. The elf was watching Noah through Yasmin's eyes. What the heck? Bring him. Yasmin nodded as though it was her decision. Noah nodded back and headed towards the mansion, leaving Yasmin behind. Seeing Noah, several maids bowed and greeted him with a smile. Noah nodded back at them, eventually reaching the main hall, where he saw several people gathered around his father. Except for his mother, everyone was in their battle armor. The warriors were divided by their armor colors. One group led by an old man wore icy white armor. They were combined of the Ice Fair's Duke Declan's men and House Bellafort's men. House Winston soldiers were adorned in pale blue armor among the other two. At the same time, Duke Marvin's men wore emerald green armor. When the soldiers saw Noah, everyone stopped their murmurings. Silence fell over them. But the silence was short-lived as the old man greeted Noah with a wide grin. There he is, my grandson-in-law. The old man's voice was full of life. His neatly combed, ashen hair was tied into a ponytail. Compared to Ethan, who was a muscular man who could destroy a tree with his hands, the old man was skin and bones. An oblivious man wouldn't even spare a second glance at the old man. But his reputation was a stark contrast to his appearance. The old man's friends and family called him Xavier, but his enemies called him the Demon. He was the reason no one dared to wage war against Ice Fair. Even the so-called sword masters of Aragoth feared to battle Xavier one-on-one. The old man was an unstoppable killing machine. One could count the warriors who could fight the old man head-to-head with swords with one hand. In his early years, Xavier fought Maxim Barnes, who was a sword master then, and came close to defeating him. Although the battle ended in a draw, Maxim still had a tinge of fear for the old man in his heart. Even to this date, many sects and academies taught their disciples about Xavier and his sword mastery. "Grandpa," Noah greeted Xavier with a grin. The old man embraced Noah in a tight hug. Despite his thin stature, Noah felt like he was being crushed by two boulders. Seeing their commander loosening up, the soldiers looked a little bit relieved. "You look a bit exhausted. Are you eating well? It seems my granddaughter is failing at her duties as your fiancée." Xavier turned his gaze toward Alicia. She looked a bit flustered, but she quickly managed to throw a cold glare at her grandfather. Even though the old man was feared across Elon, he was just a doting grandfather to Alicia. Many under Xavier's command still couldn't believe there was a playful side to their demon commander. "He is worried that he's stuck at the core strengthening stage." Norvin leaped onto Noah's shoulder out of nowhere. "That's it? These old bones are stuck at the soul refining stage for years. I'd be happy if you were stuck at the core strengthening stage for a couple of more years. I cannot let a youngster outrun me. I have a reputation to protect. After all, the novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 638. They stole Ghost's shipment, few hours before the Aqua auction final day. Inside a dimly lit room, a man was tied to a chair and beaten to a pulp. The man's face was bloody and swallowed beyond recognition. Several cuts riddled his body. Anyone with eyes could tell the man was tortured mercilessly. Slowly the man's eyes closed. Looking at the man's head falling down, a man walked out of the shadows. He was tall, muscular, and had messy brown hair. "Lord Malin." The man turned his head to see a guard entering the room. "Lord Ricky is on his way here," the soldier said. There was a tinge of panic in his voice. "Shit," Lord Malin cussed. He wanted to heal the man in the chair so he could make him feel the pain once more. How did he know this soon? Lord Malin questioned himself. House Bradley had been escorting Ghost's shipment for a year now, and they had never faced a problem until now. The entire shipment was stolen by masked men when the carriage containing the potions and pills were traveling through the forests surrounding Kethen. A group of highly trained masked men ambushed House Bradley and Rainshade Merchant Guild guards and stole everything inside the carriage. Although the masked men managed to kill many guards and escape with the shipment, the guards caught one of the masked men. That unlucky fellow was the one in the chair, getting tortured by Malin himself. As Lord Malin was thinking about how Ricky, the right-hand man of Ghost, learned about the ambush, Ricky entered the dark room with a couple of guards of his own. As usual, they all dressed in complete black, just like their lord, Ghost. Lord Ricky, due to Ricky's appointment as a minister and his status as Ghost's right-hand man, everyone started to call him Lord Ricky. When Ricky entered the room, he noticed Malin standing there with no shirt to cover his upper body. He was stained in blood. Judging by the man tied to the chair, Ricky could tell where the blood came from. Even if the blood came from Lord Malin himself, Ricky wouldn't give a damn. He was super pissed and on the verge of killing everyone in the room. He wasn't the same gate guard Ricky anymore. After being Ghost's right-hand man and managing his affairs for a long time, Ricky became more dominant and less merciful. "Tell me he is one of the men who stole the shipment," asked Ricky. His voice was cold. Killing intent radiated out of every pore in his body. No matter what it takes, he must get back the shipment and fix the situation. That was the only way to escape the wrath of Sister Elia. "Yes," Lord Malin nodded. A year ago, Lord Milano wouldn't have spared a second look at a commoner such as Ricky. He was a lord of a noble family and a core-strengthening stage warrior. Now, he had no choice but to show respect to Ricky. "Did he tell you who stole the shipment?" asked Ricky. Fortunately, Malin received an answer from the thief after hours of torture. Ricky creased his brows as immense killing intent made the temperature in the room drop by a few degrees. "Who?" asked Ricky. "Duke Avon. He ordered his men to rob the supplies. They are planning to use the healing potions for themselves." For a moment, Ricky was stunned. But after thinking about where the shipment was going, everything made sense. A few days ago, Lord Ethan from House Winston bought all the healing potions in preparation for the upcoming war against Flamefare. Since Lord Ethan had a good relationship with Master Ghost, Ricky sold all the healing potions along with several other products to Lord Ethan. Ricky gave his word to Lord Ethan that everything would reach his manor in 2 days. Now that the shipment had been stolen, Ricky was enraged. "You," Ricky turned his cold gaze to the man in the chair. Looking at his frail state, Ricky flicked his wrist as a healing potion materialized in his hand. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Lift his head, Ricky ordered his men. While Lord Malin and his guards were staying behind, Ricky's men lifted up the thief's head. Ricky slowly opened the thief's mouth, pouring the healing potion into it. In a couple of seconds, Ricky emptied every single drop of the healing potion into his mouth. Lord Malin furrowed his brows. He couldn't help wondering what the heck Ricky was doing. He just wasted 15,000 gold coins worth of healing potion on a thief. "What did it?" the thief mumbled. "Am I dead?" The thief was tortured to the point he doubted his reality itself. When his vision cleared, the thief's eyes went wide. Finally, he realized where he was and what he was doing. "Not yet," Ricky answered the thief with eyes full of murderous intent. "Did Duke Avon order you to steal the shipment?" The thief did not answer. Silence occupied the room for a moment. "Let me rephrase my question. Did Duke Avon order you to steal the shipment belonging to Master Ghost?" The thief trembled, hearing Ricky's cold voice. Ricky's eyes turned predatory. If a gaze could kill a person, the thief would have died by now. The thief recalled what happened to him an hour ago. Every cut, bruise, and punch brought upon him made him shiver. The thief did not want to go through that ever again. To be honest, the thief would rather die than get tortured again. Yes, he did. It's the truth, I swear," the thief screamed. Please let me go." The thief's voice was cut short as Ricky plunged a dagger through the thief's throat. Lord Malin was stunned. He did not even see when Ricky unsheathed his dagger. In a blink of an eye, Ricky ended the thief's life. Blood spurted out of the wound. The thief frantically twitched until his body slowly came to a stop. Ricky pulled out the dagger and cleaned the blood off of his sleeves. "Such a mess," Ricky spat. He rubbed his temples. It brought Ricky a headache. Now he had to send another shipment to Lord Ethan. Moreover, he would have to answer Master Ghost and Sister Elia. The latter made him tremble in fear. "How could you let this happen, Lord Malin? We cannot go ask for the shipment from Duke Avon. It's our word against his." Ricky exhaled deeply. Sometimes Ricky wished they sent the products in a space ring. That way, they didn't have to rely on escorts and protection. Sending everything in a space ring would be quicker, easier, and more secure. Unfortunately, Ricky knew Master Ghost strictly ordered them not to. Unlike gold coins, the potions and pills put inside a space ring would gradually lose their quality. The other alchemists didn't care about losing 1 or 2% purity. They preferred to send their products stored in a space ring. However, Michael valued quality over everything. He promoted his pills and potions by saying they are 90% pure. He charged the customers for 90% pure products, not for 89 or 88. Michael wouldn't tolerate even a 1% loss in purity. That was why Michael chartered Lord Malin's family to escort the carriages transporting his products despite the drawbacks, such as being vulnerable to ambushes. Lord Malin sighed. He was simply unable to express his bitterness on what had transpired. He lost several good men in the ambush but couldn't care less about them right now. Instead, he was more worried about meeting Ghost. We have to try before Master Ghost returns from Lord Malin said. "I will use everything at my disposal and get to the bottom of it," Lord Malin vowed. "You do that." "But I have to inform sect leader Claire." Lord Malin panicked. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net. Why? Just give me some time. Hiding this from her will only make this worse, Lord Malin. I know Master Ghost and Sister Elia. Trust me, it's better that way. Judging by Ricky's tone, Lord Malin knew there was no point arguing with Ricky. At that moment, Lord Malin wanted nothing more than Duke Avon's head. If he wanted, he could have purchased those pills and potions for gold coins. There was no need for him to steal the shipment. Fortunately, I have a second batch of shipment ready. I will personally deliver that to Lord Ethan. I will come with you, Lord Malin quickly said. No dash, I insist. Lord Malin cut Ricky's sentence short. Seeing no harm in bringing Lord Malin with him, Ricky sighed, nodding his head. Lord Malin, what should we do with the body? Asked one of Lord Malin's guards. Cut his head and send it to Duke Avon. Before Lord Malin could give an answer to his guard, Ricky answered the guard. If I was him, I would die in the war. Because once Sister Elia learns what he did, she will make him wish he was dead, Ricky said before walking out of the room with Lord Malin. Back in the dark forest, Azazel saw everything that had transpired. He saw everything from how Lord Malin furiously tortured the thief to Ricky ordering the guard to cut the thief's head. A while later, Azazel slightly moved his head to see a red-haired man in his early 40s. The scar from his left eye to his upper lip gave him a villainous look. Looking at crates filled with healing potions, the man smirked. Duke Avon, Azazel coldly uttered the name. The man was the Duke of Flamefair, Avon Jilks. You're a dead man, Azazel said. Although Lord Ethan ordered and paid for the shipment, it belonged to Ghost until the shipment was delivered to the client. That was how Michael treated his business. By attacking the carriage and stealing the shipment, Duke Avon practically attacked Ghost. So the Duke had to pay for what he did. My lord, Azazel contacted Michael through the telepathic link between them. Azazel heard Michael's voice in his head. My lord, one of our shipments were attacked and stolen. For a few moments, Azazel received no response from Michael. Who? Azazel felt a chill running down his spine when he heard Michael's murderous voice. Duke Avon, the Duke of Flame Fair, said Azazel. Chapter 639, New Elder Vampire. After leaving Fabia's laboratory, Saber headed straight to the main hall, where the other elder vampires were waiting for him. Among the 10 seats around the stone table, only 3 seats were taken. Trista, Lenora, and Ingram welcomed Saber with a nod. Saber slowly pulled his stone chair back. The chair made a creaking noise. Read chapter 474 to refresh your memories about the vampires. Have you found Hakon's killer? Asked Lenora. Ingram and Trista turned their gazes to Saber. Not yet, Saber simply shrugged. He didn't share the letter he received from Harriet when he was in R. Elder Ingram, you wanted to talk about something. Saber ingrained the 2 lady vampires and turned his gaze to the oldest elder vampire among them, Ingram. How prepared are we to face the Dark Lord? Ingram asked. He was always the quiet one, but when he asked this question, there was gravity in his voice. Why are you asking this so suddenly, Elder Ingram? Trista asked. Among all the vampires, they only called Ingram Elder due to his age and power. To this date, the vampires didn't know Ingram's cultivation stage. He kept his powers well hidden. Because of that, Ingram was the most feared and respected. Haven't you heard what happened to the Holy Church in the Royal Land? Lenora quickly asked Trista. Of course, I heard about that. My question is, what does that have to do with us? If you ask me, the destruction of the Holy Church works in our favor, said Lenora. It has everything to do with us. The Dark Lord is hunting down everyone he deems evil. I think we qualify to be called evil all the way, chuckled Trista. Elder Ingram, unlike Lenora and Trista, Saber didn't take the threat of the Dark Lord lightly. According to what I heard, we aren't strong enough to fight the Dark Lord. If he decides to hunt us down, we will have a problem, said Saber. Silence fell over them for a few moments. We may have to call upon all the elders, at least those who are alive, Ingram calmly said. His words shocked everyone. Because it had been almost 100 years since all the 10 elders gathered in one place. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. Elder Ingram, are you thinking of waking up a blood prince? The words sent shivers down Trista and Lenora's spines. The Blood Prince was one of the ancient vampires. They were the first creations of the Vampire Lord. However, due to their violent nature and long lifespan, the Blood Princes entered a state of slumber thousands of years ago. No one knew how many Blood Princes were in this world. Their records were lost in time. For now, the elders had access to one Blood Prince. Only through a special ritual could they wake up a Blood Prince. But waking up a Blood Prince had several drawbacks. One of them was that the elders would have to listen to the Blood Prince until the Blood Prince entered the slumber state. Simply put, they would take over the Deathless clan. Ingram nodded. But Trista's words were cut short when Ingram raised his hand. I saw the Dark Lord slaughter the Holy Guards. It wasn't a battle, as the mortals claim. It was a one-sided massacre. He killed several soul refiners within a snap of time. In my eyes, he wasn't even using a fraction of his true power. The words startled Trista and Lenora. In the night, they all could reach the fusion stage level 8. That was their base cultivation power. Coupled with immunity to spell attacks, regeneration, and inhuman speed, the vampires turned into a terrifying force of nature. A typical fusion stage cultivator would not be able to defeat the elder vampires. Unless one had a primordial flame, defeating an elder vampire was nearly impossible. We are not prepared to face him. That's the truth. Ingram's gaze swept across the other three. Waking up a Blood Prince may be our only way to end the threat before it ends us all, said Ingram. His voice sounded more grave than usual. Elder Ingram, we have to think this through before we act. Waking up a Blood Prince isn't that simple. He or she would take over the clan. They would order us around. And think about our current state. The entire world knows we exist. What if the Blood Prince decides we are not capable of leading the clan and choose new elders? Lenora panicked. Her words had some merit. Saber knew this. To be honest, even he wasn't entirely on board with waking up a Blood Prince. As far as he was concerned, waking up a Blood Prince had more drawbacks than benefits. However, if Elder Ingram decides to wake up a Blood Prince, they would have no choice but to follow him. Forget about the Blood Prince. If they disagreed with him, Saber knew Ingram would kill them all and replace them with new elders. Unlike Trista and Lenora, Saber witnessed Ingram slaughter a group of vampires mercilessly in the Azer continent almost 100 years ago. They were all elder vampires created by Ingram himself. Although they possessed the title of elders, they were all inferior to the elders at the Round Table. Those elder vampires were tasked to eliminate all the kings and queens in Azer at that time. To their bad luck, they failed, almost exposing the vampires in the process. As a result, Ingram slaughtered every single elder vampire without a shred of mercy. Despite his calm composure, Saber knew how cruel Ingram really was. The entire Deathless clan thought Saber was the most terrifying, but Saber himself was terrified of Ingram. Even if Trista, Lenora, and he teamed up, they would stand no chance against Ingram. Hence, Saber didn't want to go against Ingram's wishes. I lived longer than the three of you combined. I know a threat to us when I see one. The Dark Lord is a threat. Don't make me repeat my words. Ingram creased his brows. The room became colder to the point that they could all see their breath escaping their noses. His eyes glimmered with intense killing lust. We will do as you wish, Elder Ingram, Saber quickly exclaimed before the situation escalated further. But we have one tiny problem. We only have 9 elders, said Trista. No, we have 10, said Saber. But, except for Ingram, the other vampires didn't have a clue about the 10th vampire. Saber just clapped as the open space in the table's center slowly opened as a figure emerged from the ground. Upon seeing the elders, the figure dropped to one knee and removed his cloak. I turned him, and if we all agree, he can be an elder at the table, said Saber. Trista and Lenora stared at the red-haired human for a few seconds. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. Why do I have the feeling I saw him somewhere before? Trista rubbed her chin. Wait a minute. Lenora recognized the scar on his face. Then she had a light of realization. You're the Duke of Flamefair, exclaimed Lenora. She was surprised, and it was visible in her tone. As Trista heard Lenora, her eyes went wide. She wondered when Saber managed to pull a Duke to the dark side. Duke Avon Jilks, raise your head, Saber ordered as Duke Avon lifted his head to look at the elder vampires before him. Although Avon looked calm, his heart was pounding. A few months ago, Avon didn't even know the vampires existed. But thanks to Fabia Viridius, whom Avon knew as the Black One, he was able to meet Saber. To his astonishment, Saber offered him the chance to become one of them. A typical man would have freaked out or outright rejected the offer, but Avon was no such man. He lusted for power more than anything. That was the reason why Avon allowed Fabia to open secret dungeons to experiment on the cultivators in the first place. With Saber behind him, Avon went to open war against not one but 2 duchies at the same time. Not only that, but he also ordered his men to steal Ghost's potion and pill shipment. Even the kings and queens of Elon dared not to go against Ghost, but to Avon, Ghost was just a mortal he could kill in a snap. After all, Saber granted him all the powers of a greater vampire. From what he had seen, no mortal, whether they were prodigies or freaks of nature, stood no chance against a vampire. "Why did you choose him?" asked Lenora. "Isn't it obvious?" "He is a duke," Trista rolled her eyes. "But not only that, he was helping my servant for quite some time. This is just me rewarding his diligent support for us," said Saber. "If we made him the elder, he would win the war against the Pentown and Ice Fair. We can control the entire kingdom of Kethin in a few months," explained Saber. Trist and Lenora turned their gazes toward Ingram. After experiencing the cold killing intent from Ingram, they did not want to cross him again. Besides, Saber was right. Controlling the Duke meant controlling his duchy. Once they could control the 3 duchies, the entire kingdom would soon be their hunting ground. They could hunt, recruit more subordinates, spread their influence, and much more. Simply put, the possibilities were endless. After contemplating for a few moments, Trista and Lenora nodded, agreeing to turn Avon into an elder. I, Lenora Beatrix, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. I, Trista Nevada, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. Saber nodded. I, Saber Byron, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. Finally, Ingram rose from his stone chair. I, Ingram Dragon, agree to turn Avon Jilks into an elder of the Deathless Clan. In a blink of an eye, Ingram disappeared and reappeared behind Avon. Before Avon could realize what was happening, Ingram grabbed Avon's head, tilted it to a side, and sunk his fangs into Avon's neck. Blood spurted out as Avon's body twitched. One by one, the others sunk their fangs into Avon's neck. When they were done, Avon collapsed onto the ground. His body went through several changes. Finally, after approximately 2 hours, Avon woke up at his mansion as an elder vampire. Chapter 640. The War Between the Duchies. After Noah left for the pocket dimension with Yasmin, the Winston family soldiers consisting of 500 men began their march towards the assigned battlefield. Since a large-scale battle between cultivators would destroy the surroundings to nothing, the Guardian Guild assigned a specific battlefield and surrounded the field with various arrays to safeguard the villages nearby. Because none of the parties at war agreed to a peace talk, the Guardian Guild had no choice but to oversee the war. Of course, the Guardian Guild could have stopped the war if they tried. However, their priority was to restore their damaged reputation. Ever since the Royal News wrote an article about how the Guardian Guild knew about the vampires and hid it from the public, the guild had lost its reputation. As a result, many noble families withdrew from funding or decreased the amount given to the guild. Thus, the Guardian Guild prioritized fixing its reputation to sway the guild from the path to bankruptcy. Leaving the Winston compound, Xavier and Ethan led the men under their command to the Akar grass field. It was located between the border of Flamefair and Pentown. They wanted to save every bit of arch energy in their body. Hence, they chose to march instead of fly to the grass field. Despite the long march, Ethan and Xavier did not camp out in the forest. They both knew about Avon and his underhanded tactics. It wouldn't be a surprise if they were ambushed in the forest. Thus, Ethan and Xavier passed the forest as fast as possible without any rest. When they were getting closer to the grass field, they ordered the men to take half a sip of healing potions. The men were thankful to the commanders once they consumed some healing potion. They immediately felt refreshed and rejuvenated. Soon, the refreshing feeling turned to courage and courage turned bloodlust. Once they passed the forest, they arrived at a clearing, the Akar grass field. When they arrived, two men, one riding a white horse and another riding a red horse, galloped toward Ethan and Xavier. The man atop the shiny white horse was Duke Marvin. He was a blonde-haired man with a thick bushy beard. His golden spear dangled on his back as he welcomed Xavier and Ethan with a tired smile. The man riding next to Duke Marvin was Duke Alvarin, the Duke of Ice Fair. Among the four dukes, Alvarin was the only non-human. He was born to an elven woman and a human father. After his mother died, Alvarin received the duke title from his father, who departed to the cold mountain to seclude himself. As a half-elf, Alvarin had slightly pointed ears and smooth silky skin with a perfect jaw structure. He was neither too muscular nor too thin. Initially, when the previous Duke of Ice Fair named a half-elf as his heir, many nobles caused a ruckus. Regardless of Alvarin's claim to the title, the nobles did not want to be ruled by a half-elf. Instead, they wanted the Duke to choose someone else, a human. Yet, the Duke chose Alvarin against the nobles. Everyone, including the King of Kethan, Porter Forbes, thought the duchy was deemed to fall into a civil war. But to everyone's surprise, Alvarin used his mother's side of the family to bring millions of gold coins to the Ice Fair. Within a year, he built more guilds, shops, and businesses than all of his predecessors combined. Under Alvarin, Ice Fair became a superpower among the four duchies. While Flame Fair and Pentown were in the Cold War, Ice Fair made money off of it. Soon, those who opposed Alvarin changed their mindsets. More gold coins into the pocket triumphed over their hate for the half-elf. One by one, every noble family in the Ice Fair flourished under Alvarin's rule. After winning the nobles' support, Alvarin immediately turned his focus to the citizens of his duchy. Under Alvarin's father's rule, Ice Fair suffered famine due to a lack of fertile lands in Ice Fair. As the duchy's name, Ice Fair had more snowy plains than fertile lands. That changed soon when Alvarin requested the Empress of Aur's help. Once again, Alvarin used his mother's influence and his diplomatic talents to sway the Empress into helping Ice Fair. With the help of the Empress, a special unit of elves arrived from Aur, cultivating the snow plains into fertile lands. Additionally, the Empress and Alvarin signed a treaty that brought Ice Fair a large amount of grains every year. All it took was Alvarin's word to marry one of the Empress relatives when the right time came. Duke Alvarin. Xavier was surprised to see Duke Alvarin on the battlefield. Alvarin was a diplomat, not a warrior, at least none had seen him battle before. So when Xavier saw Duke Alvarin himself on the battlefield, he was surprised. This chapter upload first at novel.bin.net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit novel.next.com to experience faster update speed. Commander Xavier, Lord Ethan, Duke Alvarin gently smiled at the both. Before you say anything, I am just here to oversee the battle, not to participate in it, Alvarin said. His words were calm, composed, and contained a hint of authority. I have brought you 500 archers from my personal army as I promised, Commander Xavier. Xavier turned his head to the side and saw 500 archers clad in silver leather armor. They stood behind Duke Marvin's iron-armed soldiers on the front lines. Duke Marvin's men were divided into two platoons. One platoon consists of warriors wearing crimson-red armor. They were armed to the teeth and each held a long golden spear. The second platoon stood between the archers and the iron-armored soldiers. Instead of armor, they were in their robes. These platoons contained cultivators who specialized in long-ranged and supporting spells such as defense barriers and healing spells. In total, the Ice Fair and Pentown soldiers formed an army of 1,600,000. Boom! As they were speaking, the sound of a horn reverberated through the grass field. They all turned their gazes in the horn's direction. On the horizon, a large army slowly marched toward them. The army of Duke Avon finally arrived at the Akar grass field. The frontline soldiers, almost 600 knights clad in shining plate armor, halted a good distance away from Ice Fair and Penn Town's army. They were near enough to see their enemies but far enough to evade arrows. The archers of Duke Alvarin quickly knocked and aimed their arrows at the newly arrived army. Commander Xavier, Alicia descended from the sky after scouting the area ahead. She was in her battle suit, armed to the teeth. Except for her head, metal armor covered every part of her body. Her sword dangled on her waist while she held a golden spear, just like her comrades in her hand. Although Xavier was Alicia's grandfather on the battlefield, he was her commander. Hence, Alicia bowed her head and addressed him as commander. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net, our enemies have 1,600 soldiers. 600 knights, 500 archers, and 500 mages, reported Alicia. Any idea how strong they are? How many core formation stage warriors? Are there any soul refiners? Asked Xavier. No, Commander. Duke Avon has some mages who cast a shield around them. It prevents any means to see their cultivation levels, said Alicia. Ever since the Hydra woke up from its slumber, it had been preventing the cultivators from seeing others' cultivation stage. It was a double-edged sword, especially for the soldiers on the battlefield. They wouldn't be able to gauge how strong or weak their enemies were. If they were lucky, they could end up fighting a weaker opponent. If they were not, then most probably they would die. This all ends here today, Ethan exclaimed. He was sick of losing his soldiers to Avon's underhanded tactics. His eyes gleamed with battle lust. When Harriet was at his cultivation stage, Ethan fought head-to-head with her. Before becoming the Lord of Winston family, Ethan was the only man who came close to defeating Harriet Hunt in close combat. Even to this day, many adventurers in RR sing about the Black Hawk, Ethan's Adventurer Guild name. Return to your regiment, Xavier ordered Alicia with a pat on her shoulder. An affectionate smile rose on his face. With a nod, Alicia joined the front line. Seeing his granddaughter joining the knights, Xavier sighed inside. He wished Peter was with Alicia on the battlefield. After all, no one would have one's back like family. It was really unfortunate that Peter walked a dark path and ended up being house arrested. But again, Xavier always sensed something amiss in Peter ever since Peter was a little boy. He valued power over everything, even family had become second to Peter. The army of Duke Avon stationed in the distance, watching their enemies. For a few minutes, only silence haunted the battlefield. Eventually, Xavier and Ethan rode their horses, leading their men to the front. Meanwhile, Duke Alvarin and Duke Marvin went to the back, far enough to avoid the enemy archers. Xavier turned behind to look at his men. Their eyes told him they fear no one and they would charge forward with a single command. His men were strong, but there was no need to purposefully put themselves at a disadvantage by charging head-on toward their enemy. Xavier wanted to study their enemies a bit more before giving any command. Anyone who knew Avon could tell he wouldn't come to the battlefield without having several trump cards. It took Xavier decades to train his men. He did not want them to die a pointless death. Since Xavier had seniority, Ethan stayed behind, waiting for Xavier's command. After some thinking, Xavier decided not to charge in recklessly. However, that didn't mean he would stand here like a sitting duck. Bring out the beast. Xavier issued an order as several knights dismounted their horses and started assembling a portable weapon made of iron. It resembled a hybrid of a ballista and a cannon. The long hollow tube was as long as 2 carriages combined. After several minutes, the knights finished assembling the weapon and pointed it at the army of Duke Avon. Xavier moved a bit closer to Duke Avon's army. He then used a sliver of arch energy to amplify his voice. Duke Avon, come out. Xavier's roar was loud enough, even without amplifying his voice. But with his arch energy amplifying his voice, his words reverberated the entire grass field. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Chapter 641 Duke Avon's appearance. When the sun disappeared on the horizon, stars peeked their heads out in the dark sky. They glimmered in the black canve-like sky. There was a coldness mixed with beauty in the night sky. Under the black sky, the two armies waited for each other to charge forward. Commander Xavier's words caused a commotion in both armies. They all waited for Duke Avon to appear, but he was nowhere to be seen. Even Duke Avon's commanders didn't see Duke Avon for a few days. They only received a parchment containing Duke Avon's order and crest. Looking at warriors such as Ethan and Xavier leading their men, Duke Avon's commanders felt a bit down. Their morale was down, especially after seeing the iron weapon the soldiers assembled. "If you don't come out, we will blow your army into bits and pieces," Xavier continued to roar. "Come out and face me like a man. A duel. We will finish this without bloodshed." On the front lines stood the three commanders of Duke Avon's army. They were all covered in iron plate armor from head to toe. Even their horses were armed to the teeth. They looked at the enemy soldiers, threatening to charge toward them any moment. "That damn old bastard," one of the commanders gnashed his teeth. "The thing they are pointing at us." The commander dragged his words. "The beast, yes." Another one who was familiar with the weapon nodded. "Commander Xavier's pet. The same thing the Belleforts used to siege many castles." This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. To experience faster update speed, the soldiers amplified their gazes using arch energy and stared at the weapon, particularly at its long hollow tube. It resembled a cannon, but the base was that of a ballista. They could hardly see the weapon, but some of them could see the glowing runes engraved on its black metal surface. Silence fell over the battlefield after Xavier's stopped roaring. As a veteran who went through countless wars, Xavier possessed the skill to study his enemies. At the moment, Duke Avon's army looked to be in low morale. The Duke, their leader, wasn't there with them, while all the leaders, including Duke Alvarin, blessed their enemies with their presence. Many soldiers in Duke Avon's army felt hesitant to fight the demon. Xavier's presence made them tremble. Almost everyone in the army heard about Xavier's tales and how dangerous the man was on the battlefield. Duke Marvin. Duke Alvarin leaned slightly to his side. "Isn't Alicia a guardian? How could she participate in the war?" The Guardian Guild had a rule stating its members cannot participate in any wars. Instead, the guild preferred to stay neutral and only advocated stopping wars. So when Duke Alvarin saw Alicia in her battle armor, he was surprised. "She quit the guild." "I thought you'd know that by now, Duke Alvarin," answered Duke Marvin. After the guild began an investigation on Peter, Tenulia asked Alicia to take a long holiday. By that time, the Cold War between Icefair and Flamefair escalated to the point Duke Avon waged a full-on war against Icefair. Being in the guild without any power to help her brother caused great pain to Alicia. She was both mentally and physically exhausted. After a long discussion with Noah, Ethan, and her family members, Alicia decided to quit the Guardian Guild. She desperately wanted to help her family out of the trouble caused by Peter. That was the reason Alicia joined the army raised by the Belefort family under her grandfather. Now that she had quit the guild, she was free to side with any kingdoms or families in a war. Furthermore, she was free to find whatever was necessary to free her brother. Makes sense. Duke Alvarin recalled everything that had transpired in the tournament related to Peter. As a matter of fact, he received several complaints from the nobles in secret about a vigilante beating the hell out of their kin in the night. He even designated a special unit of soldiers to hunt down this vigilante. But never in a million years he thought Peter would be this vigilante. The Belefort family was one of the very few families that didn't oppose his ascension to the Duke title. They respected his father's wishes and supported him wholeheartedly. To be honest, Duke Alvarin was glad that Ghost exposed Peter instead of his own unit. It could have caused a rift between him and the Belefort family if his soldiers had caught Peter. Although it was hardly discernible to a normal person's eyes, Ethan could see the soldiers of Duke Avon trembling. Realizing this was the perfect time to strike at the enemy, Commander Xavier raised his hand, threatening to issue an order anytime. "Soldiers, we don't need big morale-boosting speeches. We boost our morale by hunting down our enemies. We boost our morale by feasting on their blood. You have followed me into countless battles and emerged victorious. Today won't be any different. Let us strike our foes and decimate the flame fair once and for all. Xavier's words sent shivers running down the opposing soldiers' spines. His words were filled with murderous intent. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net some cowardly soldiers even took a step back, and the soldiers standing at the last line pondered if they should sneak away. Their morale was at its lowest when a bolt of lightning cracked the sky, almost splitting the sky into halves. The bolt of lightning was too bright to the point many closed their eyes for a moment. When Xavier and his men were about to march forward, they saw Duke Avon standing in front of the soldiers. The orbs of light hovered above the flame-fair army, illuminating his face. As soon as the flame-fair soldiers saw the Duke, they felt relieved. Soon the relief turned into courage, and courage boosted their morale. A small smirk rose on Xavier's face. Once they marched for a few seconds, Duke Avoyne would be in the beast's firing range. At that time, they could kill Duke Avon with a single shot and end this war before it even begins. Fire! Xavier shouted. On cue, the beast roared. Crimson iron lava-like cannonball shot toward the Duke and his army. The temperature around them rose several degrees as the projectile whizzed by. The cannonball soared through the air. Luckily, the cannonball hit the Duke with deadly accuracy. On contact with the Duke, a powerful shock wave shot around Duke Avon's army with a loud explosion. The ground rumbled as the cannonball exploded into numerous small orbs of lava. Although the frontline soldiers erupted their shields in front of them, the shock wave knocked them down from their horses. Following the explosion, a dust cloud formed around the Duke, preventing Xavier and his soldiers from seeing what was the result of the hit. When the dust storm died down, they all saw Duke Avon standing there without a single scratch on his body. The soldiers of Duke Avon's opposing army, including Xavier and Ethan, bewilderedly stared at Duke Avon. Hints of confusion were evident on their faces. Even the commanders of Duke Avon's army were stunned at the outcome. Those who were near the Duke looked at him with quizzical eyes. There was a huge explosion, the ground rumbled and the temperature rose, but that was all. Even the numerous smaller fireballs spat out by the hit dispersed after several seconds, as though an invisible hand swept them away into non-existence. So that was the so-called beast, huh? Not impressed, Duke Avon smirked. His words were loud enough for everyone on the battlefield to hear. Yai. It took Duke Avon's soldiers several seconds to realize their leader had dispersed the enemy's most powerful weapon without breaking a sweat. When their brains finished processing what had just transpired, they were shocked, but soon the shock turned into tenacity. Their morale shot through the roof as they roared. The soldiers raised their weapons toward the sky. Their battle cry rumbled as loud as a thunderclap. Xavier never thought Duke Avon was strong enough to withstand the beast's direct hit. Any normal man would have exploded into bits and pieces. Unless Duke Avon had reached the peak soul refining stage or cast a legendary defense spell, it was impossible for him to survive such a direct hit. After dispersing the cannonball, Duke Avon just smirked. He adjusted his red robes before turning his back on the charging enemies. "Don't take prisoners," Duke Avon simply said before walking through the army to the back. To everyone's astonishment, Duke Avon did not charge onto the enemies. After startling everyone by stopping the cannonball, he just decided to stay at the back instead of fighting on the front lines. However, the show Avon put on boosted morale and gave the soldiers the courage to face their enemies. Despite what Avon did, Xavier did not slow down. He was a veteran who went through countless battles. A simple variant wasn't enough to discourage the demon. Instead, Xavier let out a roar and marched faster than before. Behind Xavier, Alicia was running as fast as Xavier's horse. She almost surpassed him. At that moment, Ethan, Xavier, and Alicia led the entire army by the front. Boom, boom, boom. Although the beast failed to kill Duke Avon, the knights continued to fire cannonballs from the beast. Every time the beast roared, the ground trembled as the temperature rose by several degrees around them. Seeing the cannonballs soaring towards them, the mages from Avon's army flew forward, preparing to cast defense shields around the army on the ground. They doubted the army could withstand the cannonballs like Duke Avon. While the two armies were about to clash, a couple of level 10 soul refiners from the Guardian Guild appeared in the sky to cast a barrier around the Archer grass field. Instead of trying to stop the war, they ensured the war happens in a controlled environment. Chapter 642 The Bloody War. Under the night sky, the two armies charged at each other. Their footsteps shook the ground like an earthquake. Ethan, Xavier, and Alicia led the Ice Fair and Pen Town armies, while 3 armored knights led the Flame Fair army instead of Duke Avon. Unmasked hostility and bloodlust filled the air. The army of Duke Avon glared at Xavier, Ethan, and Alicia. Each of them terrified the soldiers, but with Duke Avon behind them, they showed nothing but battle lust in their eyes. Finally, they found an outlet for their boiling battle lust. When the two armies were just a short distance from each other, Xavier roared, "Show no mercy!" The entire army behind him roared in unison. With Ethan and Xavier leading the army, the soldiers fearlessly charged toward the Flame Fair army. Arch energy gushed out of the soldiers' bodies, amplifying their strengths beyond typical human limits. Each of them gripped their golden spears tightly to clash against the Flame Fair army without regard for their lives. The two armies collided. The sound of iron striking iron reverberated as armored knights' swords and spears struck against each other. Sparks flew, and blood filled the air as the two opposing foes broke into a melee. The Flame Fair army broke out, fighting like savages. Both armies were fearless as they swung their weapons left and right. Alicia also roared and hacked every enemy in her path without a shred of mercy. The Flame Fair soldiers were Alicia's outlet for her buried anger. She used her spear to stab a couple of soldiers simultaneously and her other hand to send cold spikes left and right. Due to the sound of iron clashing, no one could hear the spells she was casting. While Alicia was slaughtering the Flame Fair army, Ethan and Xavier wreaked havoc on the other side. To Xavier's surprise, Ethan fought like a demon incarnate. Riding the black horse, Ethan looked more demon than Xavier. Unlike Alicia, Ethan did not cast any spells. He just used his sheer strength to slash and dash the enemies with his long sword. However, the Flame Fair soldiers weren't powerless either. In fact, they surprised Xavier himself. While Alicia and Ethan were killing the soldiers effortlessly, Xavier's personal army struggled against the Flame Fair soldiers, especially the 3 armored commanders. Coupled with the secret potion Duke Avon mixed in their meals, the decades of training and experience made the Flame Fair army stand their ground against Xavier's army. Demonic ice rain. Alicia roared in a deep hate-filled voice. Many Flame Fair soldiers intuitively brought their weapons above shield themselves. Soon, a large glowing chakra lit the battleground beneath. Those who were in the spotlight felt the temperature drop by several degrees. Their skin went numb to the coldness. A split second later, the chakra shot countless ice spikes from above. Hundreds of ice spikes rained down upon them with enough force to impale everyone below. Some of them got lucky when the mages of the Flame Fair army cast a barrier around the soldiers. Upon colliding with the golden dome around the army, the ice spikes exploded into bits and pieces of ice. When the chakra faded away, the archers of Duke Alvarin released their arrows. They lit the arrows with flame before firing. In midair, they resembled a swarm of fireflies. Both armies quickly cast whatever defense spell they could, and those who held shields raised them above their heads. Spells and arrows weren't sentient to know who was friendly and who was the enemy. In a few minutes, hundreds of soldiers were either killed or lost their limbs in the clash. All of it was because of one man's ego, Duke Avon. This chapter upload first at Novel.bin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed, the Duke is mine. Alicia roared as her voice reverberated throughout the entire battlefield. Stop! Xavier tried to stop Alicia, but the loud explosion sounded from the beast made his shout inaudible. Moving forward, Alicia raised her hand, firing a stream of ice from her palm. The weaker soldiers who were in the ice stream's path immediately turned into statues. Her ice stream cut open a path in the army as she shot toward the Duke. Where are you going? A murderous shout was heard when Xavier tried to follow Alicia. His battle instincts kicked in as he blocked the long axe with his sword. His hand went numb. Soon, the three armored commanders surrounded Xavier. Looking at this from quite far from Xavier, Ethan plunged his spear into the ground with enough force to create a strong shock wave. For the first time, Ethan cast this shock wave since the start of his battle. Everyone in a 3-meter radius around Ethan was sent flying. He leaped into the air, preparing himself to shoot toward Xavier. "Go to her," Xavier amplified his voice with arch energy. His words sounded in Ethan's head like a bell, clear and loud. On a battlefield, even a split-second hesitation would cost a life. Ethan knew this. For instance, if Ethan hesitated even for a second to follow Xavier's order, either he or Alicia would be killed. A veteran commander like Xavier would not die to 3 unnamed commanders. Hence, Ethan obeyed his order by flying in Alicia's direction as fast as he could. Seeing Ethan's trajectory toward their lord, the mages hovering in the air immediately cast several spells to stop Ethan from reaching the Duke. Ethan flew like an arrow shot from a bow. However, he quickly halted when he saw a beam of blue energy heading toward him. Intuitively, Ethan swayed his body to the side, avoiding the energy beam just by a few inches. Without giving Ethan any more time, another mage fired a long, thick arrow made of fire in Ethan's direction from above. Ethan swayed left and right, avoiding the spell. But his bad luck, he kept getting bombarded by the mages above him. While Ethan was facing the mages, Alicia finally reached the Duke, who stood way behind his army, close enough to see the battlefield but far enough from the archers and the beast. In stark contrast to his normal crimson-red attire, Duke Avon wore dark robes from head to toe. He even covered his head with a cloak. When Alicia went past the mages and the army, she saw Duke Avon standing alone without any personnel guards. His eyes glimmered like a cat in the darkness. "Face me like a man." Alicia slowly stepped towards Duke. Her sword dangled around her waist until she unsheathed it. She held the golden spear in one hand and the sword in the other. Although she couldn't see Duke Avon's cultivation stage, she didn't fear him at all. She completely ignored that Duke Avon single-handedly stopped the beast's cannonball. Hearing her murderous tone, Duke Avon remained calm. He did not indulge her in a conversation. Instead, Duke Avon looked up at the moonless sky. He could feel the darkness powering him up. New sensations caused his mind to be bewildered. The power of being a vampire really mesmerized him. Before turning into an elder vampire, he had never thought he could hear someone's heartbeat so clearly from a distance. At this moment, Avon could see the world from a different perspective. For instance, Avon could see the energy radiation around Alicia. It was evident to him that Alicia was weaker than him. To Avon's surprise, only 2 people on the entire battlefield who could fight him head-to-head, Xavier and Ethan. As Alicia got closer to Avon, he could smell the sweet fragrance of blood. Immediately his stomach growled. This strange feeling of hunger was new to Avon. Previously, if he had seen a beauty like Alicia, his mind would have created sexual thoughts. But now, he only wanted to feast on her blood. As a human, he knew drinking blood was animalistic or even forbidden. Still, his urge to suck her dry was too strong to resist. Under his dark cloak, the 2 fangs slowly grew to the point they stuck out of his mouth. Due to the darkness and his cloak, Alicia couldn't see the changes on his face. If she could, she would have seen the evil grin on Avon's face. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. I will end this pointless war once and for all. Alicia halted her steps from a couple of meters away from Avon. By killing you, the area turned colder as a white mist surrounded the 2. By learning only icy spells, Alicia became closer to controlling the coldness in the area. However, she wasn't a god like Michael or Noah. Otherwise, she could have controlled the element itself. "You are the bitch who follows that Winston boy everywhere," Duke Avon amused. "He collects beauties like trophies, doesn't he?" Avon questioned Alicia. Alicia didn't show any emotion on her face. However, she was boiling in rage inside. It took great control to stop herself from ripping him apart. "How many other bitches are there in his harem?" asked Avon with a chuckle. The more he riled up Alicia, the stronger the scent of her blood became. He couldn't wait to get her blood to boil to the maximum so he couldn't have a nice, delicious feast. Blood of a virgin. It was a rare delicacy for the vampires. He was no exception, even though he was only a vampire for a day. "After tasting you, I am going to feast on every single one in your family," said Avon. After hearing Avon's last words, Alicia couldn't hold back her anger. She leaped at Avon with immense killing intent. Her entire body radiated a chill that would turn any typical man into an icy statue. With deadly speed, she pushed the spear in her hand toward Avon's heart. Avon did not even move an inch. Instead, he waited till the last moment to sway his body to the side and threw his fist at Alicia's gut. Duke Avon's speed and movement caught Alicia off guard. Before she could swing her sword to block his fist, she felt a sharp pain in her gut. The force of Avon's punch sent Alicia flying several meters back. Alicia coughed up a couple of times as Duke Avon grinned under the dark hood. "I am going to enjoy this," amused Duke Avon. "The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 643. Duke Avon wants Alicia, weak. A strong, hateful voice was heard. Alicia intuitively blocked Duke Avon's hands from above. His speed was nothing like she had expected. One moment he was in front of her, and the other, he was on top of her. Alicia's hands felt numb after the attack. Fortunately, she used her spear and sword to block the attack. Suppose she used her hand, it would have broken like a twig. Without giving time for Alicia to retaliate, Duke Avon sent a kick toward Alicia's gut. Alicia evaded the kick by quickly leaping back, but Duke Avon's hands swirled and followed her movements. His hands aimed at her neck. Alicia quickly erupted a shield made of 3 layers of ice in front of her. But to her astonishment, the ice shield formed cracks and shattered the moment Duke Avon's fist collided with it. Caught off guard, Alicia evaded the punch a split second later. The fist of Duke Avon hit Alicia on the shoulder, nearly dislocating her shoulder. A painful groan escaped her mouth. "You are a lot weaker than I expected," Duke Avon cracked his knuckles. "How disappointing." Alicia frowned. He didn't cast any spells, yet she moved at a speed beyond her expectation. Even her grandfather, the demon, didn't move with such speed. Something was amiss. On top of his freaky speed, Alicia smelled a strong, pungent smell coming off of Duke Avon. "You did something to yourself," Alicia said. "You noticed, huh?" Duke Avon grinned under his dark hood. "So I was right. You did do something to yourself," Alicia exclaimed. She then dropped the sword as the sword stabbed the ground, standing straight. Alicia massaged the shoulder hit by Avon's fist with her empty hand. Since Duke Avon wasn't in a rush to kill Alicia, he allowed her to take some time. He slowly realized that he liked the process of hunting more than the prey itself. After tasting a glimpse of Avon's power, Alicia did not underestimate him. She clenched the spear tight, casting a spell in the other hand. In a blink of an eye, a light blue chakra materialized in front of her. Looking at the rotating chakra and the several runes in it, Avon didn't even flinch. Instead, he waited for the chakra to do something. His wish came true soon as the arrows made of ice shot out from the chakra rapidly toward him. The chakra moved along with Alicia. A bright light flashed across the area every time an arrow shot out of the chakra. Cold air surrounded Alicia and Avon. But to Alicia's astonishment, none of the arrows made a dent in Avon. He just stood there, taking the arrows without moving an inch. Every arrow that hit Avon exploded into tiny dots of light before fading away. As a vampire, he was completely immune to any spell attacks. Poor Alicia had no idea Duke Avon before her was an elder vampire. The last time an elder vampire appeared, it took Michael and Noah to kill him. Compared to Duke Avon, the elder vampire Michael and Noah fought was far weaker. That elder vampire was created by Hakan and Trista, 2 elder vampires. On the contrary, Avon was turned by 4 elder vampires. Alicia didn't know she started a fight that she had no chance of winning. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed. I wonder how it feels to have my own minions. Avon slightly tilted his head, looking at Alicia from head to toe. As an elder vampire, he was free to do whatever he wanted as long as it benefited the vampires. After exchanging some blows with Alicia, Avon wondered whether to kill her or turn her into a vampire. According to Saber, the stronger ones will, the harder it would be to turn and control them. However, once their will was broken, they could be turned into a powerful greater vampire and eventually an elder vampire. His train of thought was cut short when Alicia leaped at him with her spear pointing directly at his head. She pushed herself to the maximum. As a result, she moved at the speed of an arrow. But to Avon, she moved at a snail's pace. He waited patiently until the spear was just a few inches away from his head. When the spear was about to penetrate his head, Avon grabbed the spear, pulled it toward him, and slapped Alicia right on the face. His slap was strong enough to send Alicia flying for nearly 10 meters. Avon was surprised to see his own strength. He only used a sliver of his strength, yet it was enough to send Alicia flying. This is power. Avon looked down at his fists. His grin grew ear to ear. At this moment, Avon felt he could take on the entire world. He feared nothing. With the blood of a vampire, he was quite unstoppable. Soon, Saber would find a solution for them to walk at night, and at that time, the night rulers would rule the day too. However, to achieve Saber's goal, Avon must first bring the kingdom of Kethern to Saber's feet. Only then could Saber use Kethern as his hunting ground and conduct several experiments to find a solution for the sun. The elder vampire fought Michael, and Noah used the dark web created by one of Saber's minions like Fabia. Although it prevented the sun rays from penetrating through, the dark web couldn't exist for more than a day. After what had transpired in the alchemist competition, Saber ordered his minions to perfect the dark web while sourcing another group to come up with a new solution. The elder vampires before the current ones were quite satisfied with living in the shadows. But it changed now. Saber and his group of elder vampires, except Ingram, wanted to rule both the day and night. Now that the Guardian Guild exposed them, they wanted to control the world more than ever before. Finally, Alicia hit the ground with a small thud. She tried to cut him with the sword, but he just swatted the sword out of her hand. "You will be my first minion. Take great pride in that." Alicia felt a chill hearing his animalistic growl. She could see the fangs more clearly up closer. "You vampire?" Alicia could hardly utter these words. "Soon, you will be one of us too." Avon pulled Alicia closer. He took a long whiff of the sweet fragrance coming from Alicia's blood. More than anything, he wanted to sink his fangs into her neck. Alicia struggled frantically, but he was too strong. "No." Alicia felt Avon's skin against her skin. When he was about to turn her into a vampire, a golden light flashed across the sky. The next moment, something shot directly onto Avon, sending him flying. Alicia coughed. "Stay back." To her surprise, Ethan stood between her and Avon with golden metallic wings protruding out of his back. The golden light radiated by Ethan's wings weakened Avon. He hissed and leaped back to get away from the golden light. "Uncle, he is not a human anymore. He is a vampire," Alicia managed to warn Ethan. Her words startled Ethan, but he didn't flinch. "Get back to your grandfather. I will take care of this," said Ethan. "The hell you will." The hatred-filled voice of Avon reverberated in the area. Ethan and Alicia took a step back, seeing Avon's eyes glimmering under his dark hood like rubies. A dark cloud shrouded him as he moved closer to Ethan. "I need only one minion. So one of you will die here," Avon growled. "The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." "Tell the guardians above that the Duke of Flame Fair has turned into a vampire," said Ethan with an authoritative tone. Honestly, he couldn't believe Noah when he said the Guardian Guild had gone completely incompetent and corrupted. However, he could understand why Noah said those things. The soul refiners floating above the battlefield completely failed to recognize Avon as a vampire. The dark robes, regeneration, and the way he avoided bright golden light should have at least made them wonder. Yet, Ethan saw no interference from the Guardians. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Com to experience faster update speed, but in Guardian's defense, this was just another day at work for them. They had seen countless wars, and this wasn't any special to them. Hence, they were just meditating in the sky rather than focusing on the battlefield. Uncle, Alicia hesitated to leave Ethan with Avon. It's an order, Alicia. Ethan's voice turned grave. He literally had no time to argue with Alicia. The sooner she gets out of this place, the better. At least if she informed the Guardians, they would do something about Avon. Slowly stepping back, Ethan grabbed Alicia's sword forcefully. Finally, the golden wings lost enough light for Duke Avon to attack Ethan. Go! Ethan pushed away Alicia and blocked Avon's hand with Alicia's silver sword. Ethan's hand felt numb as he got pushed several steps back. Despite everything, Ethan was glad to fight Avon alone. If the Duke was with his commanders and soldiers, it would be exponentially hard to fight him. That was why Ethan decided to fight Avon until Alicia informed the Guardians about Avon. When Alicia finally decided to leave the battlefield, Avon dashed at Ethan. His kin underneath the dark hood burnt due to the golden light surrounding Ethan. Yet, it wasn't powerful enough to slow him down. To Avon's surprise, Ethan moved almost as fast as him. Caught off guard by Ethan's speed, Avon brought his arms in front of him intuitively. But Ethan slashed his sword at Avon's thigh and flapped the golden wings with enough power to push Avon several meters back. Using this opportunity, Alicia took off from the ground like a rocket. However, Avon surprised Ethan by shooting a dark arrow out of his arm. The arrow penetrated Alicia's leg and knocked her off from the sky. Blood spurted out from her leg as she growled. Alicia! Ethan screamed. He was about to dash at Alicia when Avon fired another dark arrow towards Ethan. The dark arrow perfectly blended with the darkness. An oblivious man wouldn't be able to see the arrow at all. However, Ethan was no oblivious man. He swung his sword at lightning speed, cutting the dark arrow in halves. After cutting the arrow, Ethan threw the silver sword at Avon. He wanted to keep Avon as far as possible from Alicia. The sword soared through the air until it penetrated Avon's chest. The sword's one end was sticking out of Avon's back. Chapter 645 Killing another elder vampire. As he slowly descended from the sky, golden bolt of lightning crackled under Ghost's feet. The son Ethan lost had come to save his family once again. Despite what everyone told him about the Dark Lord, Ethan didn't believe his son was evil. He wanted to hug Ghost and tell him that he is his father. With a gentle smile on his face, Ethan looked up. Ghost's raven black hair had grown back to his neck length. The stubble beard gave him a charming look. As he descended, his black long coat fluttered in the wind. With his hands behind his back, Ghost calmly landed before him. Lord Ethan, Michael extended his arm to Ethan. A glimmer of concern emerged in Ethan's eyes for a moment, but after remembering Ghost was the freaking Dark Lord, his mind calmed down. Look out! Suddenly, Ethan shouted, noticing Avon firing a dark arrow toward Ghost. Michael, however, remained calm. He caught the dark arrow before it could hit him without even turning back. The dark arrow trembled in his hand. Soon, it shattered under his grasp. Be careful. He is a vampire, said Ethan. Ethan saw no signs of fear on his son's face. Instead, he remained as calm as ever. Ghost reminded Ethan of Harriet. No matter the situation, the two of them remained calm. In Ethan's eyes, Ghost looked the same as Harriet. He even dressed in complete black and carried two swords on his back like his mother. In a blink of an eye, Avon dashed at Michael. To Ethan's shock, Ghost grabbed Avon by his neck. Just like when he caught the arrow, he didn't even turn around. Arg! Avon growled. He tried to escape from Ghost's clutch, but he couldn't. Lightning crackled around Michael's wrist, burning Avon's neck. Ethan's jaw dropped a few inches looking at the scene. The vampire who almost killed Alicia and him struggled like a weakling under his son's grasp. Finally, Michael turned his head to look Avon in the eyes. "You stole my shipment." Avon couldn't believe what he had just heard. With earth-shattering force, Michael took off from the ground. Under his grasp, Avon frantically twitched his body to escape. When Michael reached height enough to see the entire battle, he threw Avon to the middle of the battlefield where Xavier was fighting 20 soldiers at the same time. Except for the cloud of darkness, Michael used everything else to boost his power. The death range alone gave Michael enough power to manhandle Avon without breaking a sweat. The force of Michael's throw was enough to prevent Avon from regaining balance mid-sky. Boom! With a loud explosion, Duke Avon hit the ground, creating a powerful shock wave. A crater formed around Duke Avon due to the force of his collision. Duke Avon coughed up dark blood. The two armies on deadlock halted their fight for a moment. The soldiers couldn't help turning their gaze toward the sudden crater that appeared in the middle of the battlefield. This chapter upload first at NovelBin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit NovelNext. Calm to experience faster update speed before Duke Avon could get back to his feet, Michael shot toward him, leaving a golden lightning trail in the sky. He landed straight on top of Duke Avon and released a barrage of kicks, each kick carrying the same force as the previous one. Protect his grace. The commanders, who realized it was their duke who was getting kicked to death, screamed as loud as they could. Their shout reverberated throughout the battlefield. Soon, the mages and knights tried to move toward the duke. Kill them all. At the same time, Xavier roared at his men to kill the Flamefare soldiers. Once again, a battle between the two armies broke out. Finally, Duke Avon managed to roll a few meters away from Ghost and managed to get back to his feet. The bruises and wounds on his face closed up at speed visible to the naked eye. His neatly pressed black robes were drenched in mud and torn in several places. An oblivious man would never recognize Avon as a duke. Instead, they would think of him as a beggar. Uncontrollable anger coursed through Avon's veins. He gnashed his teeth as the fangs grew as long as possible. Unlike the energy radiation Avon sensed from Ethan and Alicia, the energy radiation of Ghost was on another level. Avon could tell his cultivation level was far inferior to his opponent's. His only saving grace was his strong vampire body and superior regeneration. Otherwise, he would have been kicked to death a few moments ago. "Is that it?" snarled Avon. To Avon's astonishment, Ghost threw a green vial at his feet. The vial shattered, creating green mists around him. "You are not the first elder vampire I faced, Duke Avon," Michael's calm words startled Avon. His brain suddenly recalled everything he heard about what had transpired in the alchemy competition. Ghost and Noah fought and slain an elder vampire. At one point, even Saber mentioned something about Haken's creation rampaged at the alchemy tournament and ended up getting killed by 2 humans. For the first time, Avon's eyes glimmered with fear. But soon, anger overshadowed his fear. Avon dashed at Ghost with enough speed to create a shock wave behind him. The bastard in front of him was a vampire slayer. He killed one of his kind. Although Avon did not know Haken or the elder vampire he had created, Avon wanted to avenge both of them. Upon reaching Ghost, Avon punched the bastard with every bit of his strength. The impact of the punch pushed Avon several steps back. His hand felt numb as though he had hit a metal wall. Only then did Avon see the black shield in Ghost's hand. As a vampire, he was blessed with speed beyond a cultivator's limit. Yet, Avon completely failed to see when Ghost took out the black shield. Seeing their lord at a disadvantage, the nearby Flamefare soldiers ignored their opponents and charged toward Michael. Ring of Fire. Michael cast the spell in his mind as the bright crimson-red flame shot out from Michael in a perfect circle. Waves of fire pulsated in regular intervals. Those who were caught in the radius of the flame circle screamed. Their agonizing screams and the strong scent of burning flesh filled the air. Soon after a few seconds, their screams stopped. Silence fell over them. Fortunately, Avon leaped into the air, escaping from the burning fire. Before his eyes, his men burnt to a crisp. Michael looked up at Avon. Countless tiny bolts of lightning crackled around his wrist, threatening to be unleashed at Avon. Suddenly, Avon coughed again and again in the air. Every part of his body started to ache as though he was being stabbed by hundreds of rusty needles. Extreme pain made him fall to the ground. Luckily for him, the pulsating flame waves disappeared, leaving smoking ashes on the ground. Even after losing their fellow soldiers to the flames, the others rushed toward Michael. With an annoyed look, Michael channeled the celestial energy and poured it to strengthen the lightning bolts around his wrists. When the soldiers got close enough, Michael raised his hands, firing thick bolts of a golden lightning bolt from each hand. The 2 lightning bolts struck the soldiers and penetrated several soldiers. Michael did not stop. He kept firing lightning bolts one after another. Whenever a bolt of lightning fired out of his hand, several soldiers dropped to the ground with large holes in their chests. This chapter upload first at novelbin.net. Avon roared in uncontrollable anger and leaped at Michael once again despite the pain. His body screamed at him to stop, yet Avon pushed himself to the limit. The anti-vampire potion Michael brewed after getting Victor's blood sample, and the elder vampire's flesh sample was working better than Michael expected. This time, Michael did not stay still. Instead, he cast the ignitia and moved toward Victor faster than his opponent. When the 2 of them collided, it created a powerful shock wave. Under the soldiers' shocked gazes, Michael punched Avon left and right. Only the soldiers above core formation could see Michael's punches because he was simply too fast for the eyes of the others. In a few seconds, Michael landed almost 50 punches. Avon's vision soon started to blur. Michael suddenly picked Avon up off his feet by his waist and slammed him on the ground. Avon coughed up more blood. To everyone's surprise, Ghost did not stop with the slam. He proceeded to grab Avon's leg, lifted him up, and slammed him again and again and again like Avon was a weightless doll. The soldiers were terrified. The man who stopped the beast's cannonball single-handedly stood no chance against Ghost. Soldiers of Flamefair not only felt embarrassed but also terrified. Their morale hit rock bottom. No one, they heard the deep hatred-filled voice of Ghost. He slammed Avon on the ground, steals. Another slam. Again, Michael slammed Avon. When Michael hit Avon against the ground this time, Avon almost lost consciousness. His bones had been broken by Ghost faster than his body could heal. The soldiers noticed Avon's legs and arms looking crooked. Just as they thought it was over, they saw Ghost stepping on Avon's throat. "Vampire or not, if you ever fuck with me, I will end you." These were the last words Avon said before getting his head crushed with a single stomp. Blood and bloody brain matter scattered around. Avon's body frantically twitched for a few moments until it finally stopped. Everyone who saw the gruesome death of Duke Avon felt shivers running down their spines. When Michael's gaze swept across the battlefield, the soldiers from both sides took a step back in fear. After the death of Duke Avon, the Flamefair soldiers lost their spark to fight. Honestly, they had no reason to fight. With no leader to lead them, it would be pointless for them to continue. Hence, one by one, they let go of their weapons and dropped to their knees. Under their terrified eyes, Michael crouched down near the Duke and scooped up a sample using a vial. Compared to the elder vampire he and No fought, Duke Avon was a couple of times stronger. Michael wanted to further test the samples to improve his anti-vampire potions. This proved to be a fruitful thing for Michael. He not only managed to kill and make an example out of Avon but also leveled up. When he was about to turn around and leave, he heard Xavier's voice. "Stop. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone." Chapter 646 Ghost Attack. Alicia. Michael halted his steps. Judging by the voice, Michael could tell it was the old man who valiantly faced 20 or so men at the same time. As Michael expected, when he turned around, he saw the old man galloping towards Michael. The war between the two opposing armies completely stopped. The Flame Fair soldiers were on their knees, hoping Pentown and Ice Fair dukes would be merciful. Everyone stood far away from the ashen circle around Michael. His rings of flame torched everyone on its path, forming this circle. Except for the duke's body, everything was nothing but ash. Looking at Xavier moving toward his son, Ethan quickly recalled everything that happened between Ghost and Peter. He leaped into the air and landed beside Xavier with Alicia. "Who are you?" the old man asked Michael. "I go by the name, Ghost," Michael calmly answered the old man. To Michael's surprise, the old man's face twitched. A hint of shock and anger glimmered in his eyes. But the anger soon faded away from Xavier's eyes. "Do you know who I am?" asked Xavier. Michael noticed Alicia's cold gaze on him, and Michael just chose to ignore her completely. "No idea," Michael shrugged. When the surrounding soldiers heard Michael, they frowned. How could Ghost say he doesn't know the demon and the sword master of Aragoth? It was preposterous. Everyone in the Elon continent knew Xavier Belafort. They immediately thought Ghost was being arrogant. However, the old man looked into Ghost's eyes, realizing the young man really have no idea about his identity. "I am Xavier Belafort," the old man introduced himself. "Belafort, huh?" The last name of Alicia. Michael quickly made the connections, realizing the old coot was the cold bitch's family member, probably her grandfather. Still, Michael couldn't care less about Xavier or his family. "You put my grandson in the Guardian Guild's crosshair," said Xavier. Michael couldn't tell whether the old man was making a statement or being furious about what he had done to Peter, Alicia's brother. "Your grandson is just facing the consequences of his actions. Just like Duke Avon here." Michael looked at the mangled body of Duke Avon at his feet. "You humiliated him." "He doesn't deserve that," Alicia growled. "This is not a place for this conversation. We have so much to take care of." Ethan tried to defuse the situation before it further escalated. He did not want his son Ghost to put on his Dark Lord robes and kill Xavier overnight. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net. If you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. Calm to experience faster update speed. Michael did not respond to Alicia. Instead, he looked at Ethan. "Sorry for the delay in the shipment, Lord Ethan. It won't happen again." When he was about to leave the place, Alicia stopped Michael again. "My grandfather didn't give you permission to leave." Ghost's lips curved upwards, forming an arrogant smirk. "I don't need your grandfather's permission to leave. I can leave whenever I want. This is a battlefield. Here, the commanders of the armies hold the power. When you are here, you're bound to obey the commanders." Michael was surprised to hear the weird rules. "Is that the rule?" Michael looked around calmly to see several soldiers nod, including Lord Ethan. Since Gaia was not with him, Michael didn't know the rules about the battlefield. To be honest, he didn't expect someone to come up with a rule like this. It made Michael wonder who put this rule. Luckily for Michael, the situation brought him a chance to put Alicia in her place. This war is between Flame Fair and Pentown allied with Ice Fair. Since you don't belong to either, what you did will be treated as a crime. Lord Xavier, he was a vampire. Ethan's voice turned grave. If it wasn't for his son appearing at that time, both he and Alicia would have been either turned or drained of blood. Instead of thanking Ghost, Xavier tried to bound Ghost with a rule which was very unlikely of Xavier. Ethan had a feeling this old man has something else in his mind. Whether it was revenge for what Ghost did to his grandson or something else, Ethan did not know. A glimmer of shock could be seen in the old man's eyes when Ethan revealed Duke's secret. Not only the Duke but the surrounding soldiers had also begun to murmur. Many gasped in shock. Vampire or not, he was a Duke and he's an outsider. Xavier looked at Michael. "He killed a Duke and it's a crime. You have to come with us peacefully to answer for your crime to His Majesty, Porter Forbes." Hearing the old man, Michael felt annoyed. These dumb weaklings were actually trying to arrest him. Usually, Michael would antagonize influential people like Xavier. However, Xavier belonged to the Belafort family. The ship of allying or being on friendly terms with them had long passed. Hence, Michael gave no shit about the old man. Besides, Michael was in a league of his own. Letting these puny families like Belafort bully him was the exact opposite of badassness. Looking at the gentle smile on Ghost's face fade away, Ethan's heart skipped a beat. This is getting annoying. If you want to stop me from leaving, go ahead. But remember this, I warned you, said Michael. Ethan saw the glimmering killing intent in his eyes. He killed the Duke to save me and Alicia. If His Majesty wants to hold anyone accountable, I will talk to him, Ethan interjected. He tried to calm the situation, but unfortunately, calming Ghost was not an option anymore. This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net, I don't give a damn about her. Michael's words stunned everyone around. Who are we kidding here? You want to get back at me for what I did to Peter? Michael turned his cold gaze from Ethan to Xavier. You can think whatever you want, young man, replied Xavier. There was a calmness in his voice that even surprised Michael. And you are welcome to do whatever you want. Golden bolts of lightning crackled around Michael's hands. The sound of crackling lightning bolts amplified when the wind around Michael started to swirl. Every soldier in the vicinity took a step back in utter fear. Except for Alicia, who stepped forward without a shred of fear in her eyes. To everyone's astonishment, Xavier took a step back, letting Alicia take the lead. He put his hands behind his back and watched Alicia unsheath her silver sword to fight Ghost. But suddenly, the bolts of lightning disappeared from his hand. The swirling wind died down and everything went back to normal. You think you can stop me? Haha, Michael chuckled. You think of me as your enemy, right? But to be honest, I don't. Michael slowly shook his head. Hearing these words, Ethan felt relieved. However, his relief was only short-lived. To be my friend, there are no standards. You can be a man, woman, rich, poor, or sick, I don't care. But to be my enemy, you need standards. Michael emphasized the word standard. His voice became colder. You are not in my league to be my enemy. In fact, no one is. Do you know why? Because I am in a league of my own. As he said, Michael released his aura of a fusion stage cultivator. Immediately, the others around Michael felt immense pressure on them. Some of them could hardly breathe. A veteran like Xavier and Ethan had only sensed such a powerful aura from a fusion stage cultivator. Did he reach the fusion stage? Ethan questioned himself. Alicia, stop. Ethan was caught off guard as Alicia dashed at Ghost with her sword raised. She boosted her speed with a spell that left a trail of ice on her steps. The temperature around them dropped by several degrees. Her eyes glimmered like diamonds. Even at this moment, Xavier remained calm instead of stopping his granddaughter. Honestly, Xavier wanted Ghost to defeat Alicia. Only that way, Alicia could untie the knot in her head. Ever since Ghost humiliated Peter, Alicia had been dwelling and burning with rage. Her anger even affected her relationship with Noah. Xavier noticed everything. Since Alicia was not someone who would listen to him obediently, Xavier wanted Alicia to learn the hard way. The old man lived long enough to see that sometimes they need to let go of their hatred to move forward. So Xavier hoped Alicia would accept her defeat in Ghost's hands and move forward with her life. He had seen many warriors moving forward with their lives once they got beaten by people who they deemed their lifelong enemies. In a few blinks of an eye, Alicia closed the gap between her and Ghost. When she reached him, she swung the sword as fast as she could. Michael simply retracted his black shield when her sword was just a few inches away from him, successfully parrying her attack. Stunned by his parry, Alicia lost her balance for a moment. Without giving any time for Alicia to react, Michael channeled every bit of celestial energy to his fist. Boom! Michael punched her in the gut, and at the same time his fist collided with her gut, he cast the wind blast. Coupled with the force of his punch, the wind blast sent Alicia flying like a rag doll. Even Xavier did not expect such a result. She was in the air for a minute, almost flying for 100 meters before hitting the ground again. A single punch, that was all it took for Michael to defeat Alicia. The cultivation gap between them was huge. He was at fusion stage level 7 and Alicia was only at the core strengthening stage level 2. If Michael wanted, he could have killed Alicia with a single bolt of lightning. The only reason he held back was Rowena and Noah. He did not want to draw Rowena's attention, which was equal to drawing Skyhall's attention. As for Noah, Michael knew it wasn't the right time to be Noah's number one target. Simply put, killing Alicia had more drawbacks than benefits. The soldiers looked completely stunned. Under their shocked gazes, Michael cracked his fist. "If anyone wants to stop me, they are welcome to try." As he said, Michael shot to the sky like a rocket and disappeared from sight. The novel will be updated first on this website. Come back and continue reading tomorrow, everyone. Although Hadolf felt Galaniel was planning something, the dragon didn't know what. After all, Galaniel might not be the strongest but the most cunning among the elders. Unlike the other elders, Galaniel lived among the mortals instead of in a pocket dimension. However, the mortals were oblivious to the fact they were living with the celestial being. She was a god walking the world. With a simple nod, Wulfric waved his hand as the black sludge slowly cleared. Eventually, when the black sludge completely disappeared, a bright light emerged from the bottom of the copper bowl. Luckily, the bright light was not as strong as the black sludge. Hence, Wulfric and Hadolf could see a young man dressed in white and a young woman in light blue robes walking through a lush valley. "There is a powerful source of energy in the pocket dimension," said Hadolf. This chapter upload first at Novel Bin. Net, if you want to read more chapters, please visit Novel Next. "Calm to experience faster update speed. Any dangers?" asked Wulfric. "Not any they cannot prevail against," answered Hadolf. So they want Noah to grow stronger. Wulfric could sense Thorfinn's energy signature from the pocket dimension. A powerful energy source like the one in the pocket dimension would have at least several immortal beings protecting. But there were no such protectors in the pocket dimension. It was clearly a setup made by Thorfinn for Noah to become stronger. If he could see this, there was no doubt Andreas would do too. "Devdon's handiwork," Wulfric mumbled under his breath, looking at Yasmin Watson. A soul that didn't belong to her body was living inside. Wulfric could see it as clear as day. Despite Wulfric's attempts to keep the Winstons safer, the Skyhall always managed to influence their lives somehow. Wulfric sighed inside. The puppeteer and the brutal Viking of Skyhall had taken an interest in Noah's life. It was nothing short of bad luck for Noah. Wulfric just hoped Andreas could help Noah avoid these powerful beings. "Master, do you think Elder Galaniel is behind this?" asked Hadolf. "Maybe, maybe not. But it's up to Andreas and Noah to navigate through the upcoming storm. As much as Wulfric liked to warn Andreas, he simply couldn't. A simple mistake on his part would put everyone he was trying to protect in danger." "How long you're planning to protect them from the Skyhall, Master?" asked Hadolf. Ever since Diana chose to protect her son, it was Wulfric who prevented the Skyhall from hunting her down. After they sent Diana's child Dean to the prison Earth, Skyhall ordered Diana to live and die as Diana. Otherwise, they would not only kill her but also kill her entire family except Noah. True to their word, they put on a curse that halted Harriet's cultivation. Despite the curse, Wulfric saw Harriet hunt down several cultivators stronger than her. The curse was still in her soul, yet she was somehow getting stronger. Only if the Skyhall had noticed this through their surveillance spell, they would have taken the entire family and tortured them to know how Harriet was evading the curse to get stronger. Until they all escaped the Skyhall's grasp. "I remember the Skyhall used to care for mortals, protect the world and ensure its prosperity," Wulfric sighed. "What changed, Master?" "Lady Xianxia. She came close to controlling the one thing that shouldn't be controlled. Time. Wulfric wasn't even born when Xianxia built an array that enabled her to travel through time. Until then, she ruled the Skyhall and protected the mortals. The golden age of Skyhall and for the mortals. Under her rule, immortals appeared like stars in the evening sky among mortals. But every good thing had to come to an end. The Golden Age came to an end in the form of the time-traveling array. Whatever Xianxia saw in the future completely drove her to madness. The prophecy that changed the world forever was born when she returned from the future. The name Dark Lord came into existence. You've never told me what happened to Lady Xianxia's friends? The founders of Mazeroth, asked Hadolf. No one knows. The texts, books, scripts, all talk about Lady Xianxia but not the others. Other than their specialization and they found Mazeroth together, we don't know anything else about the others. When it comes to Lady Xianxia and her friends, Andreas knew more than him. It wouldn't be an understatement to say Andreas was crazy about the founders of Mazeroth. He explored many ancient ruins and almost died several times in the search to uncover more information about Archer Crook, Ingrid Stenham, and Karjan Pavlovich, the founders of Mazeroth as well as Xianxia's best friends. Master, do you think they are still alive? This chapter upload first at Novelbin. Net Wulfric was surprised by Hadilf's question. To be honest, he himself wondered the same. Even Skyhall's secret library had no answer about their status. Many believed Xianxia ascended to Angel's realm while some believed she was injured by the Dark Lord when she traveled to the future and died. However, no one really knew what had really happened to Xianxia. But Wulfric really doubted Xianxia would have let the Skyhall run amok if she was alive. They are not here. I know that for sure. If they were here, this world wouldn't have been in such a mess. Hours passed in a blink of an eye. Finally, Wulfric focused on all the parchments on his table. In his pursuit to safeguard his disciple Harriet, he neglected his duties as headmaster of Mazeroth. He read the parchments one by one. After reading a bunch, he learned about everything that had transpired in his absence. Master, look. While he was reading Kayla Martin's letter, Wulfric heard Hadilf's voice. She came flying to him carrying a golden parchment under her claws. What is it? It's from the Holy Maiden. Wulfric placed the letter on the table and grabbed the parchment in Haldith's hands.